Alrighty, everybody. Welcome on in to the Central Committee stream with your host, Mike from PA. Let me just open Chatterino real quick before I jump in. There it is. There we go. We are live. How is everybody doing today? Are you going to cover the Pope's new encyclical against AI? I fucking should. Well, they actually did it. And I feel like I've been talking about this a lot, the fact that liberals aren't even liberals anymore. And that's kind of why we're in the crisis we're in. Look at these streaks. We got some big streaks. I think a lot of people, like last week, they said, if Kamala Harris was here, she would investigate you for violating, she wouldn't have subpoenaed you or whatever. Although no subpoena has actually been delivered. Keir Starmer is basically Kamala Harris. If you want to know what would have happened had Kamala Harris won, you look at the UK. It's really that simple. Like, it's not complicated. And so what did happen? They adopted a bunch of far-right policies. They purged the party of the left-wing base. And what happened? An even more fascist movement is rising. And there is a collapse of support for the Labour Party. And what is the Labour Party doing? Is it realizing and tacking left? No. It is attempting to prevent the growth of left-wing parties. It is now censoring critics of Israel. It banned Palestine action. We're saying you even support Palestine action. It is banning Hasan Piker. The hour is late. The hour is very late. And that's why I'm not going to be tolerating people like Cavernacle or Bad Empanada or their fans anymore. You guys are scum. You're wreckers. You make this space fucking horrible. And this is the worst part. You're so unsophisticated that you're actually creating the online left that the Zionists want, which is politically inert, so they can control the largest states in the fucking world and have them defend Israel's genocide. You're actually doing what AIPAC would want you to do. That's what they want the left to be. They want it to be like uninterested in electoral politics and uninterested in power, because then you're irrelevant. That is what they are paying for. And you know, we also have I don't know if you guys saw the leaks about Graham Plattner, and I gotta say, I don't think a single person's mind was changed. I don't think a single person's mind was changed. If you didn't like Graham Plattner before, you don't like Graham Plattner. If you're like, yeah, I like the guy because he's down to earth and he speaks in support of the policies, especially opposing Israel, that I support, you still support him. What leaked? His wife told their campaign manager that Graham had messaged women at the beginning of their relationship and that they had gone through marriage counseling and he had apologized and they'd worked through it. That's what happened. So somebody, that's it. That's the scandal. Not that he slept with anybody, but that years ago, and she told that in confidence to the campaign manager. And the campaign manager had quit when the Nazi tattoo came out and has been trying to destroy his campaign. And she basically leaked all the private information that they had shared with her. Now, I'll be completely honest with you, chat. Like, I'm not a child, right? Like, I'm not a child. I understand that these type of things in relationships and marriages happen. It's not good, but it's also, I'm not gonna take whatever trauma I had in a relationship and like make that my politics. Like, people have embarrassing, relationship problems like this. As long as nobody was abused or exploited or assaulted, that's a private matter, like, and it's a private matter. It really isn't that relevant. There are tens of millions of divorces a year that happen based on this kind of thing. What are we going to do? Arrest everybody? I'm not saying it's good. In fact, he's a dumb fuck, and I'm pissed personally. But like, this is like, come on, man. And the reason why I point this out is Bill Clinton sexually exploited a 21-year-old intern that worked for him in the Oval Office. And they were parading him around in 2024 in Michigan, where he was telling Muslim voters Judea and Samaria is part of Israel. Okay. They were accepting Donald Trump's endorsement to run Andrew Cuomo, who sexually harassed and assaulted people. And they're covering up the Epstein files for the fucking pedophiles. And it, like, can you imagine there is an attempt to equate those crimes and those clear abuses? And honestly, like, part of politics is, I want to instill in you what politics is about. Politics is about who gets what. Where do we take money from, and who do we give it to? The right wants to take money from you, the working class, and give more power and wealth to the wealthy, the billionaires, to the bourgeoisie, if we're using. That is what it's about. And you need to get your shit together. They're banning people. Like, Hasan was being targeted by governments because he's effective in electoral politics, and electoral politics still matter. They determine who gets what. And it's not to say that we're going to get everything we want overnight. If we win all these elections, it's going to result in socialism. Has anybody ever believed that? What I think it could believe, what I think it could do, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think it could do. All these anti-Zionist politicians winning because of their anti-Zionism, all the marginal politicians are going to go, I can't take any money from Israel anymore. I got to change my position on this because that could lose me my job. All the people who are not dyed-in-the-wool Zionists are going to get the fucking memo, and they're going to start switching their position. And before you know it, if we elect somebody like AOC in there, we're going to yank the chain of Israel so hard, we're going to break Benjamin Netanyahu's metaphorical neck. The people of Lebanon, the people of Palestine, the people of Iran are going to stop getting bombed. That's what I am going for. That is what I am attempting to achieve. And that is worth it. And it's not to say that voting or electoral campaigns is the only thing. Of course it's not. Nobody says that except liberals. But if we're going to effectuate the world, I mean, do you see what's happening in the world? The Zionists got the politicians bought. And so they get $350 billion for Israel. The politicians get bought. They get protected from the ICC. The ICC judges and prosecutors get sanctioned by the American government. They take over the Labor Party. They ban Palestine action, and they start using detectives and police against protesters directly for their speech. Do you not understand? Like, what are you even saying? That what is even going on in the brains of people that think this doesn't matter? I think what it is you're scared that you might win, and then you might be responsible for a goddamn thing. Yesterday evening, a joint collaboration of Newark PD, state troopers, and ICE swept up and destroyed the support camp for Delaney Hall strikers. Approximately 50 supporters, including my personal friends and prominent immigration activists. I have not been this enraged since Biden and Eric Adams swept the encampments for Palestine with force, assaulting and psychologically scarring my comrades with the Palestinian movement for life. Where the fuck do we go from here? This is exactly what I'm telling you. It's why we have to win. It's why we have to win. Mickey Sherrill did this to protect Trump and protect ICE. Because if we win, we'll abolish ICE. The centrist Democrats don't want us to win. AIPAC doesn't want us to win because we can abolish ICE. Thank you guys for supporting the stream, by the way, with the morning hype train. And like, well, is the UK banning Hasan just going to stretch and affect him and his opinions further over here? I'm going to be honest with you guys. You got to quit it with the cope. You got to quit it with the cope. Like, I get it. Like, we're all trying to find silver linings and things like that. And we're trying to, put out a stiff upper lip, but you got to quit it with the cope. We have state power going after Hasan. It's not, it is what it is. I've tried my best to explain to you why state power is relevant. And the reality is, like, ask yourself, would AIPAC be happy if I got my way? Would an AIPAC fucking, would an AIPAC supporter get a bonus if what I wanted happened? That's the way you need to be. Like, would AIPAC be happy if Graham Plattner lost? That I support Graham Plattner. Would AIPAC be happy if Abdul Al-Saeed lost? That I support Abdul Al-Saeed. Would AIPAC be happy if Shoykot lost? Would AOC would AIPAC be happy if AOC lost? And if the answer is yes, you need to do the opposite. Destiny wrote a massive effort post about Jake and Hasan are lying. What the fuck is, like, here's the one thing that I would say, and I do mean this, is that, listen, obviously I can't tell you what to do. It's not legal. Like, what do you want me to say? We have to, I am focused on getting people into these organizations to fight for something. Connie Chan should drop out and endorse endorse Shoykot, but she won't. That's how you know she's in the pockets of AIPAC. Because when Shoykot wins, Connie's not going to rally behind him. She's going to try to disrupt the left. She's going to put out a holier than thou. Oh, guys, he didn't like Dean Preston. He's not a real leftist. That's what she's going to do because she's in the machine. Destiny isn't relevant. Destiny's only relevance is talking about Hasan. You understand that, right? He is a clearinghouse for Hasan hate. That's all he is. He doesn't have any other relevance. Why is it that you're allowed to commentate on any race in the country, and when you talk about Connie Chan in a negative way, all the SF drones come out and say, you just don't understand San Francisco politics? The answer is this is actually a really good question. Every congressman but my own sucks. This is a phenomenon in American... Okay, yeah, the congressional paradox. Thank you. That's what it... AI got something right. Holy shit. Yeah, the congressional paradox. That's what it is. Beto's paradox is the idea that people generally disapprove of the United States Congress as a whole, but support the congressman for their own congressional districts. All the San Francisco people think Congress sucks, except Nancy Pelosi. Right? Now, all of us from around the world, we can look at Nancy Pelosi and we can say Nancy Pelosi is the organizer against the left. Nancy Pelosi intervenes in congressional primaries to defeat the left. If Nancy Pelosi is endorsing you in an open primary, you are a machine politician and you are against the left and you are probably a sellout, okay? So when Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff endorse Connie, that should tell you she's bad. You don't need to think deeper than that. They are the machine politicians. When Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib endorsed Shoykot, you don't need to think more. They're the anti-establishment, pro-Palestine reps. You don't have to you don't have to do three-dimensional chess. It's straightforward. They're telling you, this is the person who's with us. This is a person with the establishment. It is not confusing, and there's no doubt about it. So this is what is happening for San Francisco people, is they think that their establishment Democrat is actually good, right? Their establishment politician is actually good. Everybody else's establishment politician is bad, but their establishment politician is Nancy fucking Pelosi. So the cognitive dissonance is there. And yeah, Shoykot, I don't know what's going on in San Francisco socialism. It looks like dog shit, to be honest with you. It looks like they're stupid. I'm not trying to be too rough on San Franciscans here. It looks like you're dumb. I can see why you hold nothing of importance or power in the city. It seems like you're pretty ineffective. And I'm not trying to be too harsh, because LA DSA doesn't hold a lot of power either. But Connie is not like some sort of principled left winger. She is a machine politician. If she was some radical out there, I'd be excited. She ain't that. She's a machine politician in San Fran who made like 1 or 2 easy votes. Now, I've got my problems with Shoykot. I got my disagreements with him. But people being like, oh, guys, Mike, he's rich. He's a rich tech bro. It's like being the founding engineer of a company that blew up and beginning, making a lot of money in our system. And then immediately using that to plow that into the left, building up the left in America. They want to discourage that behavior? It's the same thing with Steyer. I'm not the biggest Steyer fan. I don't think he's very charismatic, but he's basically folding on every issue. What more do you fucking want? I'll throw him a fucking vote to keep the fucking... I'd rather have a rich dipshit who wants to be loved and does so by supporting every left-wing policy than a fucking corrupt sellout who's selling himself to every corporation in America. I mean, it's not that complicated, right? I also don't think that Steyer is necessarily going to be... He's not going to necessarily be the king, but it's not hard to make that choice. Becerra is like 30 corpos in a trench coat. Exactly. He would be a fucking disaster. And that would mean the California machine would almost certainly be veering to the right because they're going to listen to the governor. The governor's going to be able to make a bunch of changes in the Democratic Party in California to make it more right-wing, to fend off left-wing challengers, fighting against things like ranked choice voting because that would hurt him. Like, get your fucking shit together. Think tactically for once. My God. What's very funny is like Asmongold has literally supported genocide, but he doesn't ever leave his house. Asmon could easily get banned as well. Hasan doesn't care about freedom of speech. He has no problem getting Nick Fuentes. That's not free speech, you dumbass. That's a platform, dummy. This is a government, you dumbass. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I've seen IG influencers advocate for Bush to wear to be written in. I'm gonna be completely like gentle when I say this. Bush Ware is a fucking loser. Couldn't even get himself on the ballot. Like 60 fucking dopes got themselves on the ballot. Okay? Like, what are we doing here? This is me being gentle. What did he do to be disrespected? He's a China hawk. I'm not gonna write in a China hawk. Get the fuck out of here. Did you see IG let itself get hacked because it switched to AI? Oh, by the way, chat, there is a phishing DM going out on Twitter where people are like, please vote for me for podcast, blah, 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 blah. Don't click on that shit. It's a phishing message. Don't click on that shit if you see anybody messaging you that. You see Zara Sultana wrote a letter. The UK government has barred Hasan Piker and Cenk Uygur from entering the country over their criticism of Israel. Meanwhile, war criminal Isaac Herzog, whose statements were cited in the ICJ genocide case against Israel, was welcomed at Downing Street with open arms. I've written to Shabana Mahmood demanding these bans be reversed immediately. I mean, this is just fucking embarrassing. Like, I don't know what else to say. What else do I have to say? Is the UK more cucked than the US? Absolutely. What the fuck? 100,000%. The UK is 100,000 quadrillion % more cucked than the US. But the UK is worse than the US in every way. This is a really grim decision alongside Cenk. People often talk about the dangerous road we'll go down under a reform government. This is another clear warning. We're down there already. A Labour government doing everything possible to silence criticism of the Israeli government. Shabana Mahmood, we're told, will get a senior position in an Andy Burnham government. She needs to explain the strange and worrying decisions, and Andy Burnham needs to make his view clear. And I think one of the things that you could say is like, this is a test of people's intelligence, right? Asmongold is actually a time traveler that comes from 17th century Germany. Yeah. You look like this Habsburg corpse, which was the result of gratuitous inbreeding. God, they're so... I'm not even gonna... Let's like listen to Hasan talking when he was in Oxford Union.
Anti-Semitism is a canary in the coal mine of fascism. It's one of the oldest bigotries that has caused those of the Jewish faith a tremendous amount of pain. From pogroms to the Holocaust, Jews have always been singled out by those in power as a scapegoat for instability and economic volatility people in power cause. A resilient, nascent anti-Semitism is a constant threat, especially as economic instability makes those in power seek out old targets. They're not very creative, usually. They just always rehash the same propaganda over and over again. This is precisely the reason why I am terrified of the conflation of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. The conflation is dangerous. Valid criticisms against the state, especially as all of the violence is unfolding, and everyone can see it, valid criticisms against the state committing these atrocities and tying it back to Judaism is a cynical ploy to stop all matter of conversation is truly terrifying. And I think it directly causes anti-Semitism to fester.
I think one of the things that I would say, and I you know, I had the conversation, I made a video about it, right? Like if you go on my YouTube, I made a video about it. It's very important that you watch it, comment, like, subscribe. The other thing is, like, I was originally going to talk about the Cavernacle FD stuff on my channel, but I changed my mind. My feeling is I'm never ever going to interact with them again, right? Like as far as I'm concerned, we should separate. You know, I don't want to give them drama on the way out, right? Like, I don't want to give them drama content, slop content to make. They're just gone. And like, I'm sorry, but they attacked the Cuba convoy when it was going on, and then Hasan gets subpoenaed and they double down, right? And now Hasan is getting banned from the UK, and they're whining because somebody called them a racist for endorsing Zog. It'd be one thing if you said it and then you didn't know what it was and then you learned and you changed your mind. That's what happened to me, right? Like, I said bee breaking. People were like, Mike, that's really racially insensitive. I said, oh, really? I heard that from Stavros. And then I showed exactly where I had seen it from 2 weeks ago, Stavros and Adam Friedland cracking jokes. And then I apologized, right? You guys remember that? And then we moved on because, hey, whoops, I didn't realize that. Here's where I saw it. Did anybody go, you know what? I'm sorry, Mike. You're right. It turns out I didn't even know what that meant, is what most people said. But there was a certain faction of people that were just focused on trying to destroy me. They didn't have any principle. They weren't trying to bring me in alignment with some principle of theirs. They had a goal. Damage Mike. That was their goal. So when I said, hey, and I took accountability for it, and I talked about it, apologized, they didn't care about that because that doesn't advance their goal of trying to damage me, right? These guys, they get told, hey, what you're saying is anti-Semitic. It comes from neo-Nazis, and it doesn't actually adequately explain what's going on in America. They started going, I can't believe you're calling me racist. The right-wing pipeline has begun. That's how you know somebody's falling down the right-wing pipeline. They cannot be criticized. There's one chatter who claims to have been your editor who's hell-bent on ruining your reputation in every chat I see them in. Oh, that goes back to, I'll explain that person really quick. Early on, I wanted to make YouTube videos, and I had mods of mine. If I was like, hey, if you throw up the edited shit, that would be cool. Or like not even edited, just like clips, right, onto the YouTube, just so we have something. I would appreciate that. That's about it. Then there was, and they didn't really do anything, to be honest with you. Like, it is what it is. Now I have a new group of people that I of course pay. I give them all the YouTube revenue, literally 100%. And so when you see editors making me videos, that's all the clicks and likes and monetization is going to them right now. Now, obviously, if we get to a point where it's like some large amount of money, then I'm going to take my share because it's me. It's my content, right? It's my channel. But right now, you know, I've been giving them pretty much 100%. So, and I also do like a minimum. If the YouTube doesn't make X amount of money that month, I'll top it up. So that's what I do with my editing team right now. Now, because the YouTube doesn't make a lot of money. It doesn't have a lot, you know what I mean? Like, obviously. And like a lot of the people that are going after FD for not speaking up more, he has spoken out more. He has associated himself. It's just not his place of expertise. So instead of talking about it and make videos himself, he recommends other people. That's exactly what we want people to do, right? Like that's exactly, I would love for him to make his own video, and he claims to be working on it, and I'm excited for it. FD Signifier. But I'm not going to be like, I'm going to call you a Zionist because you didn't make the video. It's just drama slop, right? That's just drama slop. That forces you to respond because you're not making the video that they want you to make. And like if you would decide to associate with Bada Padada while Bada Padada is attacking people that are doing convoys, including attacking the Gaza convoy. Yeah, Bada Padada also attacked the Gaza convoy where the people were just tortured. You understand that, right? Like he's been attacking the Gaza flotillas. They had a veterans ship, veterans who were against the genocide and the wars. So he attacked it. Like, I'm sorry, if you're with this guy, you're a fucking op, period. He says that he's pro-Palestine, but he's not well-read. It's honestly crazy to attack someone for humility. I mean, of course, like, these guys are not exactly known for their humility. Losing a debate to a video. Now, and the reason why this shit is important is, like, they don't even care. They don't even care about liberalism. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. No one has principles anymore. They literally, well, I mean, I do. Like, I 100% do what I do for the outcome only. And I alienate people because I don't play nice with their bullshit. I am focused on the goal, which is what can I do right now to hurt Israel the most? And the thing to hurt Israel the most is to elect anti-Zionist politicians who want to revoke American aid to Israel. Unfortunately, it's not going to be till at least 3 years. I'm sorry, it's going to be at least 2029 before we can guarantee that happens, even if everything goes our way. Now, maybe if we, take back the House and the Senate in the midterms with Democrats, there could be some sort of sign that anti-Zionism is rising, and a bunch of politicians might start to get scared, and they might try to reign in Israel so it's not relevant by 2028. Like, that's the best case scenario. We're not going to have a revolution that sweeps out the fucking American state and the European state in the next 6 months. The best case scenario is we elect all these politicians who are anti-Zionists to office, and it puts the fear of God into other Democrats, and they start putting and Republicans, and they start putting pressure on the Trump administration to pull out. That's the best case scenario. Okay, I'm telling you that because I need you to lock the fuck in. Right now, the Zionists are trying to propose linking the IDF with the U.S. military. Mike Rogers and Adam Smith have added section 20 to the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act that could expand U.S. and Israel military cooperation with joint research, testing, manufacturing, and sharing technology. Critics say this would benefit Israel more than the $3.9 billion it currently receives, while being less transparent, allowing for less public scrutiny. Lock the fuck in. Lock the fuck in. I was supposed to chair the Hassan the Hun discussion at SXSW this week. That's who's been banned from entering the UK by Shabana Mahmood. First of all, SXSW must facilitate a way for Hassan and Jank to contribute remotely as a bare minimum refusal to comply with government censorship. Secondly, it's abundantly clear that the UK government has put Israel at the heart of its policy making around free expression. Okay, let's lock the fuck in. Let's start anew. I've been kind of rambling about a bunch of different grievances, and I'm really pissed off about. I really do hate. I do think that if you like Bada Padada at this point, you're a piece of shit. And I think it would actually be useful if somebody pulled together the fact that he tried to inform on Hassan with the hotels, the fact that he attacked the Gaza flotilla, the fact that he has, like, you need to, like, someone should gather the fact that he called GDF an anti-Semite. Like, we need to gather all these things together. This guy has been basically doing exactly what Israel wants him to do for a while now. Like, GDF was blowing up for making his videos about American foreign policy. A lot of it became about Israel because there was the Gaza genocide happening. So GDF started putting out more anti-Israel content because of the genocide. But GDF had just been making generic anti-American, basically anti-imperialist content. And then Bada Padada was like, he's an anti-Semite who panders to anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Then he attacked the Gaza flotilla. Then he attacked the Cuba flotilla. Then he said, oh, I will help the Trump administration go after Hassan. This guy is a fucking Fed. Ask yourself, would AIPAC want me to do what I'm doing? Would AIPAC want me to sabotage Zoran Mamdani's campaign? Would AIPAC want me to sabotage AOC's campaign? Would AIPAC want me to sabotage Abdul El Sayed and Graham Plattner and Chris Rabb and Kat Abu Ghazaleh? Ask yourself, is that what AIPAC would want? And yet it lines up with Bada Padada every single time. It's almost as if they're in complete alignment. The attacks against Hassan in the past 2 years have been about him being the compatible left, and this undermines his entire smear campaign. PE pushing the sanctioned hotel line is straight up lying. He's never corrected or removed the video. In fact, he's tripled down. And not only that, and this is what's really important. Editors, by the way, I don't want you to make any videos with Bada Padada because I don't want to give him any drama slop content. Like, let this fucking rat, like, we're going to shit talk him as much as we can and obviously indicate that nobody should listen to this guy and he should be fucking excommunicated. But I don't want to give him any drama slop content because he's bigger on YouTube, right? So what we need to do is focus on maximizing our growth on YouTube. That means connecting our algorithm with More Perfect Union, Kyle Kalinske, Majority Report, and Hassan, and FD Signifier, and, you know, people like that. Like, we need to focus on growth on YouTube, not giving these scum drama slop content. Okay? Message to the editors that are watching. Did we ever find out what Bada Padada left Australia? Not that I'm aware of. You know, you're way too online. Wait, what happened? What are you trying to say? All sides of the left are calling the feds. The splits of the American left since Plattner Galeno have been helping the Israelis. Galeno has lost her primary. Who gives a she was always going to lose. She was a fucking crank. She wasn't a principled leftist, and she lost. She's irrelevant. Graham Plattner, meanwhile, is the premier Senate race in the country, and he's an anti-Zionist. Are you fucking stupid? Like, the fact that you even compare the two shows you're an unsophisticated rube. Also a cheater, though. Who gives? First of all, are you fucking stupid? Are you fucking stupid? I need you to strip the liberalism from your fucking brain. I really need you to strip the liberalism from your brain. There are 2 or 3 people in here who are typing a lot who support BE, and that's all. There's nothing to support. I just explained it. He acts in exactly the way If BE got his way, AIPAC would be having the best year of their existence. If everything BE wanted to happen, Israel would be in the driver's seat. You know, and by the way, the fact that Bada Pinata is not targeted by the Argentinian government should tell you everything you need to know. He's on their payroll. I've never seen a single negative story about him in any media whatsoever. If he's such a principled anti-Zionist, why isn't he getting any pushback ever by any Zionist org? He's not, because he's doing what they want him to do. He's a nihilistic accelerationist. No, he's not even that, right? Like, you are raising Bada Pinata up. He's not a nihilistic accelerationist. He's just grifting for money. He doesn't believe in any of it. He doesn't believe in anything. It's not nihilistic accelerationism is a worldview. He doesn't have a worldview. He's not trying to accomplish anything. Like, that's all he's doing. He's just grabbing leftoid talking points to trick low IQ left-wingers. And I'm sorry, there are a lot of you. And he's just hoping that some of you will fall for left-sounding bullshit because you have no connection to any material movement. You will glom onto it because there is the opportunity to feel morally righteous, but it's not really even a worldview, and there's no goal or purpose. It's just to get attention on the YouTube algorithm and make money. It's impossible to distinguish between a legitimate Bada Pinata supporter and a right-wing troll trying to cause infighting. It's literally impossible. They're exactly the same. What do I think of the Tabernacle? Not very bright, to be honest with you, right? Like, what is there to say? I mean, it is what it is. Undialectical, untactical, unable to analyze systems and understand what the actual conflicts are, unable to identify contradiction, unable to identify opportunity, unable to really provide anything but kind of a rote. How do I explain this? Like, if you look at Graham Plattner, you could say Graham Plattner served in the American infantry. Graham Plattner was a bodyguard for American diplomats in Kabul for 6 months. He has Reddit posts that are kind of cringe and embarrassing, and then other Reddit posts that are really good. He had a personal, scandal with his wife that they resolved years ago. He didn't actually cheat, but he was certainly. I mean, if your spouse did that, I think you would be completely reasonable and being pissed off and wanting a divorce. But ultimately, I don't think if somebody got a divorce that matters that much for their politics, right? Like, let's say tomorrow Bernie Sanders got a divorce. Would I go, man, I really want Hillary Clinton to win? Like, let's get our shit together here. And, obviously, all of us want to feel like we could distance if you're in the Western world, you want to be able to distance yourself from the Iraq war, right? You want to signal to other people that not only are you not responsible for the Iraq war, I actually hate everybody who was involved. You feel like you're doing something here because you're obviously, objectively, seeing out of your own eyes. And how you feel about yourself, your self-conception is very important. But it's also liberalism at its core. You're not taking responsibility for the world around you. You are standing back as an observer and making moral pronouncements. You're not part of a collective. You're not part of a goal. You're not trying to achieve a goal. You are trying to present yourself as a good person. I don't give a shit about that, and neither should you. Now, a certain percentage of people are just going to reject what I'm saying here. A certain percentage of you are just going to listen to what I'm saying here, and you're going to say, that's wrong. I can't, because you're liberal. Because you're very deep in your soul a liberal. And your self-conception is more important to you than anything else. And okay, but you're a liberal. I need you to, I'm not saying that to attack you. I'm saying that to give you an insight into what your politics are. You are a liberal. You are focused on your individual moral positioning, not how do we achieve X, Y, and Z goal. Because the moment you take personal responsibility for achieving a goal, now you have to deal with the shitty, mucky, fucking filthy real world. Once you take responsibility for going, I need to elect anti-Zionist politicians. I need to actually get to 50%, 50 senators who will vote against Israel. Now suddenly you have to make compromises and you have to make hard choices. And you have to say, well, I don't like this guy that much, but it'll advance the ball. Once you become responsible in your own mind for a for more than just your own positioning morally, then it gets tough. Then you have to make compromises. Then you have to make decisions. Then you have to work through that responsibility. And that's a lot of work and a lot of anguish. And it's thankless work. People aren't going to say you're a good person. In fact, they're going to trash you. They're going to go after you. They're going to try to make you feel bad. They're going to try to fuck you up because you're going for power. And none of these guys are interested in that. They are interested in making content for money. And what the content that does best is the one that flatters the audience. The content that does the best is one that lets you sit in moral righteousness and judgment over other people. It is ego assuaging slop. That's what does well, and that's what they make. Because you want to feel like you're better than other people, and that's what they give you. I think it's fucking garbage, right? I think it's trash. Now, obviously, I'll be completely honest with you. Sometimes, chat, sometimes this is part of the movement. We're not all martyrs, you know? We're not all like some sort of like supermen. I like to judge people too. I like to think I'm better than people too. I do it sometimes well. I make moral arguments as well. This is what the Chinese netizens. I feel like Mike is much stronger than Hasan. Hasan often seems to be just expressing emotions. And when he talks about systems, he talks a lot of metaphysical things that lack practical application. Mike seems rough around the edges, like somebody who relies on generating buzz, but his systemic arguments are more complete. Sometimes he could just throw out a random idea, and he can effortlessly explain the entire structure from theory to practical application. He also avoids unnecessary words and gets straight to the point. His fundamental skills are clearly excellent. This is the foundation built up over many years of study. It doesn't lie. I've always felt Mike was more knowledgeable than Hasan. I mean, what I don't like about this is, this is just inherently liberal. I'm sorry, Chad. Netizens, I love you. I don't need to be compared to Hasan in this way. It's not about comparing me to Hasan. Hasan and I are as close of allies as you could possibly get. I am just doing a different type of thing than him. It's not about me being better than him or not. I'm not. He knows almost everything that I know, and vice versa. It's just silly. Mike has already explained why most countries cannot replicate the Chinese model, because China is a socialist country led by a communist party with state-owned assets and public ownership dominating the economy. For other countries to replicate that, they must undergo a social revolution, establish a people's democratic dictatorship. That's the key point. Mike's theoretical level is far superior to most American online leftists, and his explanations are easy to understand. Mike is the theorist, Hasan is the propaganda figurehead. Listen, guys, I don't even agree with that. I don't even agree with this. Like, Hasan is actually quite theoretically sound. Like, actually, to be honest with you. And I don't say that just because he's my friend. I watch Hasan. Like, I literally watch Hasan. Do you think I watch other people that often? If anything, Hasan, like, makes me feel like a piece of shit from all the work he does. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be like, haha, I am organizing Milwaukee. And then this motherfucker does like 8 fucking things. He makes me feel like a lazy piece of shit. Uh-oh. What are the patches they grayed out? What are the patches grayed out? What are the patches? Why are the patches pixelated? One of the patches is a pro rape patch? No fucking way. I mean, unless you could show me the patch, I'm not gonna believe that. All right, let's talk about the Hasan. I want to make this actually watchable for the editors. So let me start fresh. Let's pull together all the Hasan got banned things. XSW was a minor part of my trip to the UK. They totally didn't defend me or jank at all. They're actual fucking losers, and I will never work with them for the rest of my life. If you bought a ticket expecting to see me, you should demand a refund. Damn. So, if you haven't seen the news, chat, the headline above my head, Hasan Piker banned from the United Kingdom along with Cenk Uygur. Now, I cannot explain enough that this is a seriously dangerous point. And I think maybe it's because Hasan is my friend that I feel that the danger of this moment. Just like when Palestine Action was prescribed and they started arresting grandmas and grandpas for saying, I support Palestine Action. It was very clear that the Zionist influence over the United Kingdom's Labour Party was dangerous and anti-democratic. Cenk and Hasan openly speak out against anti-Semitism. Every single day they do. Even as they are attacked constantly by Zionists, they maintain a principled line against anti-Semitism. They do not advocate for violence against Israeli officials. They do not advocate for violence at all. All they do is speak out against Israel's crimes, for which members of Israel's government have been indicted by the ICC. Both of these men are absolute morons, anti-Semitic bigots, and noxious force. Neither of them are anti-Semites. That is absolutely insane. I mean, that's insane. That's actually insane. And I think one of the things that we really do need to be aware of is that a lot of liberals are radical centrists. And what I want you to understand is that they are fascistic, and they're trying to create radical centrism where they are more ideological than almost any other group. And there's something that, like, I think a lot of people think of centrist and moderate as meaning like liberal, and they're not the same thing, and they haven't been for decades. Honestly, since the 40s, liberalism is no longer about liberalism. It's about defending America's dominant position in the global stage. It's not about liberal ideas. With the death of FDR, that was the death of liberalism. They have been openly anti-speech, they have been anti-pluralism, and they have been anti the ideas that come up with, like, the human universal ideas that liberalism was supposed to be about, like freedom of speech and thought and conscience. I think this is, and like when people hear me say that, like a centrist Democrat does not believe in free speech. In fact, centrists don't believe in democracy. Centrists, both in America and Europe, are the most hostile to democracy, not extremists. That's why people like Destiny, he's not a liberal. And I've said this many, many times. Like, Destiny is not a liberal. He is simply a regime supporter, right? He defends the American regime. He defends American imperialism. He defends American hegemony. He does not believe in democracy. He doesn't believe in free speech. He doesn't believe in human rights and human universals, right? He doesn't believe in international law. All the structures and systems that were the intellectual fruit of liberalism, he does not support. Liberalism is dead. And the people who claim to be liberals are not. They are simply defenders of the status quo, which is not the same thing. The status quo grew out of states that claim to be liberal, but in the response to the Soviet Union and the response to socialist movements here and around the world, liberal rights were abandoned in favor of anti-left control. And when they abandoned that, they abandoned belief in democracy. Centrists are the most skeptical of democracy. Percentage of people who say democracy is a very good political system. In America, only 33% of centrists see it as a good system. And continent-wide, in all of Europe, only 42% of centrists view democracy as a very good system. They don't believe in democracy. Only the left consistently believes in democracy. In America, only the left supports democracy. In fact, even the far right is more supportive of democracy in some places. In Germany, though, it's not. In Germany, the right is the most skeptical of democracy. I wonder why. I wonder why. But on average, centrists hate democracy. Centrists are least likely to support free and fair elections. Percentage of people who say that choosing a leader in a free election is an essential feature of democracy. Look at that. Even the right wing in America supports democracy from free and fair elections. Centrists do not like democracy. That's why every centrist will support this, because they don't believe that. They understand that what Hasan is saying about Israel is democratically popular. They're trying to suppress it. Centrists are least likely to support liberal institution. Percentage of people who say civil rights that protect people's liberty from state oppression is an essential feature of democracy. Look how low the support for civil rights is among centrists in the United States. Centrists are also more supportive of authoritarianism. Percentage of people who say a strong leader who does not have to bother with the legislature is fairly good or very good. In America, 40% of centrists approve. I want you to understand that when I say that centrists are not liberal, they are not definitionally liberal. What we have today is an authoritarian neoliberalism, which worships markets and capital more than free speech, human rights, protest. They do not value your freedom of conscience, freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly. They hate you. This was best explained by David Graeber, my favorite anarchist. He described the type of politics they're trying to design.
The kind of politics we have now, where the left is represented by this kind of Obama-Macron-style centrism, where you're both for the market and for bureaucracy at the same time, is kind of horrible, right? The only possible appeal of that kind of politics is, well, at least they're not Nazis, right? So what they want is the left to be this kind of mishmash of bureaucratic market centrism and the right to be outright fascist. To set the ball rolling in an actual left direction will make that centrism look like utterly unappealing. In France, sometimes they talk about the extreme center, and I think that's a fitting phrase. It strikes me that what's called the moderates are the most immoderate people possible. And the reason why they're so uncompromising, I think, is because they realize they don't have a lot of positive arguments. They're not really for anything. I mean, somebody like Obama, the reason he worked was because he looked like the kind of guy who would have a vision. He acted like a visionary. He had the intonation. He had the way of standing and looking into the distance like he really believed in something. And it shows you something about just how much visionary politics has been killed. It didn't even seem to occur to people to ask what his vision actually was, right? Because it turns out, insofar as he had a vision, his vision was not to have a vision. You know, he believed in pragmatism and compromise and so forth. And that's what the center has been reduced to. It's become this pure set of performative symbols. And at the same time, you get to feel morally superior, which is ultimately what centrism, what liberal centrism is all about, is the ability to feel better than other people. So there is a kind of a symbiosis whereby the right wing pretend to be stupid, like George Bush II sort of perfected this, like I'll act like a yokel. All of the liberals will make fun of me as an idiot. Everybody who resents the sort of cultural elite for having monopolized all the good jobs will look at them sneering at me and say, yeah, I bet those guys feel the same way about me as they feel about Bush. I'll vote for Bush. Ha ha ha, stick it to him, right?
And obviously that's the case with Trump as well.
That shtick, Trump is just doing it in a more extreme version of the same thing. Johnson's doing the same thing. You know, you act like an idiot, the people who are the sort of educated elite make fun of you, and it works. Now, who's really the idiot, right? People keep falling for the same stupid trick over and over and over again. So there's a symbiotic relationship between these centrists, who are just sort of sneering elitists, and these guys who are the scam artists who pretend to be yokels, who pretend to be idiots, or pretend to be fascists. They're not even real fascists. They're kind of phony fascists. They are trying to set up a situation where those are the only two viable political choices, because they both feed off and complement one another.
And like, this is absolutely important. This is the part, the feeding off, because there's a lot of money to be made here, right? The Republicans are stealing it hand over fist. They're taking it from Israel. They're taking it from Qatar. They're taking it from all these places, like literal bribes, and enriching themselves. And the Democratic centrists, they're enriching themselves as well. They get tens of billions of dollars of people desperate to try to stop Trump, right? By any means necessary. I'm going to donate $5 to that email blast from Nancy Pelosi. And they scoop that up. That money gets fucking disappeared into a black hole. That is what's happening. They both are enriching themselves, right? And what happens? Our society is crumbling, physically crumbling. People are out on the streets. Our life expectancy is going down. People aren't having kids anymore. Like, you could literally see species are dying out. There's not even insects anymore. I got to tell you something, chat, not to get off on too much of a tangent, but there are literally no insects anymore, man. It's actually frightening how few insects there actually are left. We are seeing a massive die-off of species, including our own. And these market centrists are obsessed with containing the left. Like, it's absolutely insane. And so, like, when David talks about this extreme center, that's what it is. They don't even believe in democracy. They don't even believe in free speech. And that's what the ban on Hasan is. Because Hasan has taken pains. Hasan has taken pains to separate himself from anti-Semitism, from condemning anti-Semitism, from being precious about anti-Semitism. So have I. Every single day we say we condemn anti-Semitism for no avail. I'm called an anti-Semite anyway, because they don't really think I'm anti-Semitic. They're trying to pollute my reputation for the people that are anti-bigotry. They want people that care about bigotry, which I'm sure all of you do. That's the main way they attack me, right? The main way fake leftists attack me is to say that I don't care about X, I am racist, I'm anti-Semitic. That is all an attempt because you care about that. And you wouldn't want to listen to somebody who is a bigot, right? That's what it's about. It's about attacking what the Greeks called ethos. You hear me talk about this every day. My credibility. So you never listen to the words that actually come out of my mouth with a fair and open attitude. Free speech activists condemn UK entry ban for Hasan Piker and Cenk Uygur. The UK is failing to protect freedom of speech, prominent activists have said after the government barred two left-wing U.S. political commentators from entering the country to attend speaking engagements. Cenk Uygur, the host of the Young Turks online political talk show, and Hasan Piker, who runs his own hours-long stream each day, were both due to appear at SXSW London, while the former said he'd also been due to speak at an event run by University of Oxford students. Do you think University of Oxford students were bringing on a virulent anti-Semite? The Home Office said the two men had their electronic travel authorizations ETA canceled because their presence in the UK may not be conducive to the public good. And what they really mean is the political good of the Labour Party. The Labour Party under Keir Starmer is a footstool of Israel. Let's just say what it is. Labour friends of Israel have attacked us as anti-Semites because we don't support the Israeli genocide. And they spent their time attacking Jeremy Corbyn. And this is where somebody like Havernacle, he's a useful idiot for these people, right? He spends his time attacking the enemies of Israel. And he claims it's because he cares about, the consequences of the American war on terror. Meanwhile, Susan Collins is one of the prime architects of the Iran war, on the war on terror, the Afghanistan war. All of these wars, she has been in support of the Gaza genocide, and she's getting tens of millions of dollars from the most virulent Zionists to keep her in power. And you are attacking her opposition, who is an anti-Israel, anti-war candidate. I want to ask yourself, who are you helping? Are you helping the American left grow so that we can seize state power and stop funding Israel? The reason why Israel is able to do the genocide is because of people like Susan Collins. Directly. I want you not to be confused here. If Susan Collins wins, that means Israel will be able to do the genocide. That is a death warrant for Palestinians. It's not, and I want you to be very clear on that, okay? If Susan Collins wins, that's a death warrant for the Palestinian people. That's what it means. And you can try to move your fucking cognitive dissonance around, but that's what it means. The reason why they've stepped up their attacks on Hasan is because he's winning elections in America, which if still nominally has a democracy, if enough people go and vote for something, we can change the policy. It is still nominally possible. It happened in Vietnam. America eventually had to withdraw from Vietnam. It's not because the American military was defeated in battle and pushed into the sea. It's because the political environment, yes, the resistance of the Vietnamese was incredibly important, right? Like the way they fought like lions to defeat America military battle and cause casualties was incredibly important for the victory. I'm not taking away anything from the Vietnamese resistance, right? But for the war to actually end after decades, it required a political change in America. It was a cooperation between the indigenous resistance and the end of the empire's support of their colony and their puppet. That led to the indigenous resistance winning. Same thing with Israel. If you want Israel's genocide to end, American support must be withdrawn. How do we withdraw American support? It's by electing people that are going to withdraw that support. It's not complicated. In fact, it's actually very straightforward. Either you're on board with that, you're on side with that, or you are a dopey fool and a useful idiot for AIPAC. The problem with these ultras, you can attack Plattner, it's fine, but there are no attacks on Susan Collins is monstrous. This shows they're farming and they don't care. Exactly. Susan Collins is one of Israel's most staunch allies. She's in a blue state. She's holding a seat that should be held by an anti-Zionist. And they don't care. Mike, were there ultras in the Vietnam anti-war movement too? Of course, there are always people that are stupid, right? But I'm trying to make my audience not stupid, okay? There's always people that are stupid. But honestly, in the defense of the ultras of the Vietnam era, they actually did shit. You know what I mean? Like, they actually, traveled to North Vietnam and put themselves on the line. They, actually did direct action in the United States. They were doing stuff to actually oppose the war. And one of the things that we should learn is the lessons of the 60s and the 70s. That kind of ultra left did not work. It failed. And then a lot of those people became positively right wing. And I'm not saying, again, I'll just make it explicit. I want to see a socialist world. And I'm willing to approach that from if you could show me, if you could explain to me in a rational way how an action is going to result in a consequence, I will consider that action. Nothing is off the table as far as I'm concerned. But the reason why I'm doing this is because we've got to move the Overton window to the left. And seizing power and electoral politics gives us that opportunity. And we have to win. We can't just get 1% of the vote. We have to win. I feel like most left politicians are just as pro-Zionism. Who are your favorites? Summer Lee, Chris Raab, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. 3 out of the 4 of them are women. I'll give you another example. Claire Valdez, running right now in New York. One of the most best anti-Zionist platforms. Do you hear any of these people talking about her and boosting her? She's in a very close election. They don't give a shit. So if you think the American left sucks, why aren't you helping the people that are actually decent? Because they don't give a fuck about that. It's not about that. Every name you just mentioned are vehemently anti-Second Amendment. Graham Plattner isn't. Graham Plattner said we need to have an armed working class in his Reddit posts. I guess you forgot about that Reddit post. In early 2017, Al Jazeera released a 4-part documentary entitled The Lobby, which investigated aspects of the Israel lobby in the United Kingdom, particularly relating to the Labour Party. A member of the Israeli embassy staff, Shad Massat, was recorded plotting to take down British MPs who favor recognition of a Palestinian state. Links to Labour Friends of Israel were put under the spotlight, including a reference to the availability of £1 million from the Israeli government. Around a quarter of the Parliamentary Labour Party and a third of the shadow cabinet were members of the group. Like, look at all these people. The most powerful members of the Labour Party are in Labour Friends of Israel. Uyghur has been accused of propagating anti-Semitic tropes in his criticisms of Israel. He has insisted that his criticisms are confined to an analysis of Israeli influence over U.S. policymaking. The mighty United Kingdom is afraid of speech that shows you who's responsible for war crimes. No amount of censorship will get us to stop telling the truth. Piker faced backlash after some of his comments, including reportedly saying on a 2019 stream that America deserved 9/11, a comment he later apologized for and said was inappropriate. He said he stood by his characterization of Hamas as 1,000 times better than Israel, and his claim that he would vote for Hamas over Israel every single time. Piker said he's not anti-Semitic but anti-Israel. The bans prompted Jemaniah Steinfeld, chief executive of Index on Censorship, to claim the government had overseen a worrying escalation. Akiko Hart, the director of Liberty, called on the government to be transparent about its rationale for issuing bans. Steinfeld said she was not downplaying the harmful effects of some of the people recently banned from entering the UK, noting the Jewish community was feeling particularly besieged. But she expressed concern that banning people who had been invited to speak makes access to the UK a taste test based on the current government's determination of what's in the public good. It is paternalistic and assumes that we are just passive consumers of views rather than people who can think, judge, and challenge. It confers an underdog status to the people not allowed to enter. It could embolden other countries to follow suit. It feels fairly meaningless in the internet age where people can simply go online to hear what they have to say. Free speech is tested by hard cases, and in this instance, the UK is failing. In recent months, we have seen the government preventing people from entering the UK where their speech is deemed to have crossed the line. It is important that any government decisions that restrict speech adhere to the very high standards set out in UK law, and that the government is transparent about why and how decisions are made. Israel gave the boss call the Israeli embassy picked up the phone and said ban these guys, and they listened. It's not complicated. Free speech can only exist when we defend it for those who we disagree with, as uncomfortable as it may feel. Steinfeld is really hamming it up here. Last week, the Labour MP David Taylor called for Piker to be prevented from speaking, and the Jewish organization, the Community Security Trust, urged SXSW organizers to act responsibly and not allow the UK to be a platform for Piker. An entire country as a platform. You're not allowed to have a platform of the United Kingdom. I think one of the things that's really fascinating about this is the desire to kind of equate somebody getting banned on YouTube to not being allowed to speak in a country, right? Like, do you understand I mean, ultimately, I think one of the frustrations I have is like, obviously that's ridiculous, but it's an argument that stupid people would be confused by. And if you know anything about me, you understand that I hate stupidity. If you're stupid, it's a problem. Whom they accused of a record promoting rhetoric that includes anti-Semitic themes, denial of well-documented atrocities, and apparent support for extremist groups. So the documented atrocities that he's accused of denying are rapes on October 7th, of which there is not a single documented case, right? So asking for Israel makes these wild accusations, you ask for evidence of them, and then you're called an anti-Semite who denies well-documented atrocities because they're documented by what atrocities did he deny and what's the documentation? There's no attempt. There's no attempt to ever even demonstrate it. They just say the shit. And here's the thing. We are in deep trouble because the fascists, we believe in words. The fascists don't. They get to play with the discourse. They're having fun. They just say shit. And they don't give a fuck because it's a spy agency for a foreign state. Zach Polanski, the leader of the Green Party in England and Wales, called the bans grim, adding, people often talk about the dangerous road we go down under a reform government. This is another clear warning. We're down there already. Uyghur criticized the governments in London and Jerusalem, saying, it's an honor to have made Israel's enemies list. I'm very proud to have fought against their genocide. The mighty United Kingdom is afraid of speech that shows you who's responsible for those war crimes, but no amount of censorship will get us to stop telling the truth. Ash Sharkar, a Novara media journalist who was due to chair the discussion with Piker at SXSW, said on Monday the decision was evidence of an authoritarian turn, motivated by Labor's fear of being called anti-Semitic and fear of being called out for their position on the genocidal war on Gaza. Piker appeared at the Oxford Union without intervention by the Home Secretary last year. In that appearance, he warned that anti-Semitism was a canary in the coal mine of fascism. You know, guys, you might want to start your article with that in the first paragraph. You know, it seems pretty relevant that he came to the UK and spoke out against anti-Semitism last year. That might almost seem dispositive that it's bullshit. And said Jews had always been singled out by those in power as a scapegoat for instability and economic volatility, adding that the conflation of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism was dangerous. Uyghur had been due to speak there on Friday. On Monday, Arwa Elra Yes, the organization's president, said they were deeply concerned, adding that the union was founded on a simple principle that ideas should be challenged through debate, not ignored or silenced. Home Office decisions to refuse or cancel an ETA of these grounds are based solely on an assessment of the potential risk of an individual might pose to UK society, where applications require further considerations. Individuals may choose to apply for a visa if they still wish to travel to the UK. They waited till the very last second to deny them an ETA so they wouldn't have time to appear at the events. They're using bureaucratic discretionary abuse to silence people. SXSW has previously said the event brings together a wide range of speakers with different associations, affiliations, and perspectives, and that inclusion of the program does not apply endorsement of all organizations whom a speaker may be directly or indirectly affiliated. Pathetic. And like, this is, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, this is absolutely fucking insane and disgusting. And there's really nothing more to say. Zionists want anti-Semitism because they think it's a good justification for Israel, although they need more settlers, right? If Israel wants to increase their population. So the more they can conflate, build up the idea of anti-Semitism, the more they can induce more settlers to come and try to kill Palestinians and take their land. They work hand in glove with the far right. The far right sees Jews as outsiders of their blood and soil nationalism. So they want to be able to abuse minorities in their own country. So they're willing to stand hand in glove with Israel. It's a win-win as far as they're concerned.
A Cenk Uygur ban from entering the UK? Yeah, it's... Okay, well, I didn't want to talk about it, but my visa has also been revoked. We just found out. Yes, I will not be going as it stands currently. I don't believe that I'll be able to go to the United Kingdom this upcoming week. I don't know who to reach out for this. I was supposed to do something with Yanis Varoufakis, do something with Zach Polanski, do something with Jeremy Corbyn, do something at the Oxford Union, and now... the Labour government has revoked our visas. Go to Ireland. Okay, guys, it's not about being in the vicinity of the UK. I was supposed to do in the UK. Yeah. A sad state of affairs where obviously the interests of Israel take the highest priority. But yeah, they've revoked my visa as well. It's a 40-minute flight is what I meant. Politicians fly over there all the time for press stuff. Dude, what are you talking about? I had like actual things to do in the UK. It's so funny. You guys are like, dude, just swim across the canal, take a boat and enter illegally. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to risk getting deported and not entry into the country for 10 years. Can Jeremy Corbyn do anything about it? Probably not. I mean, I don't know. Dear Hasan Piker.
I mean, he doesn't have power. Do you understand the power? Like, this is why we want state power. This is for the bad empanadas and the Cavernacles of the world. This is why we want state power. Now, obviously, if you were ever suppressed, you would stop making your videos and you would go back to doing whatever the fuck you did before you got mildly popular on YouTube, right? Because you have no skin in the game, right? You don't give a shit. You're not important enough to have been noticed, and you're not a threat to Zionist power. Like, let's just be honest. This is why state power is important. The centrist Zionists seized control of the Labor Party. They purged the left, and now they can censor anti-Israel speech. That's why we're trying to elect people in office in America, to seize state power so that the pro-Palestinian movement has breath. And yeah, there's a lot of Zionists we've got to dig out. It's not something that can happen overnight because elections in America are scheduled. And we have a system that incentivizes two parties. So if we're gonna dig Zionists out of power, we've got to dig them out of power of the Democratic Party, and then we have to seize state power, and then we have to dig them out of the federal government. That is a multi-stage, decade-long process. And there is no alternative to that. There is no alternative to that. There is no other path. That's the fastest, shortest path. The Zionists, do you think Zionists were able to seize power of American government in one election? Or was it a long-term structure that they have now created? And we, ladies and gentlemen, technology is getting to the point where they are going to be able to surveil everybody. And if we do not get in place now, and I mean now, this election, if we don't start seizing power now, it's going to be too late. Like, you got to get your shit together. Posh Canada, thank you for the 5 tier 1s.
Your UK ETA has been canceled. This means you cannot travel to the UK without a visa. This is because your presence in the UK is not considered to be conducive to the public good. You cannot appeal this decision. Apply for a visa. If you still want to travel to the UK, you need to apply for a visa so we can consider your circumstances in more detail. Having your ETA canceled does not mean you will be refused a visa. Nick Shirley can go, though, of course, because Nick Shirley is a dog for the fascist state. Yeah, it's sad, man. What are you going to do? The other day, someone said, watch Labor Party do this a couple days before your trip, and it happened. Yeah, I genuinely, listen, I'm going to say something. This is a warning. I hope you guys understand. The Western world and liberal democracy is a sham. And all of the supposed things that they claim to care about, they do not actually care about. We are moving into a very different timeline. This is why I constantly reiterate that fascism is here, right? Like the administration trying to deploy subpoena.
And like, I want you to understand that, like, I've been talking about this for a long time, but we are now in a fascist epoch, which means we are in Schmittian times, which means there are friends and there are enemies. Either you're my friend or you're my enemy. I want to make that very clear. Either you are trying to help me and protect me and showing solidarity for me, or you're my enemy. And I will treat you that way. Okay? There is no time for lukewarm. There's no time for, that kind of funny. Yeah, I'm attacking you because I'm slightly to the left of you. Either we're solidaristic for each other, and we can disagree and have collegial disagreements within the group. I'm not saying don't disagree and everybody has to agree on everything. I'm saying you have my back or you're my enemy. And a lot of these people, like Bad Empanada, they've declared themselves on the side of Israel. They can attack Israel all they want and say Israel is X, Y, and Z thing. But if they're attacking the anti-Zionists that are under attack from Israel, they're on their side. I don't care how they justify it in their mind. You are on the side of Israel objectively. And we have to, that's it. That's it. You're either on this fight, and you don't have to spend all your energy. If you don't like Graham Plattner, if you think his vibes are shit, go spend your time on Claire Valdez in New York City. Go spend your time with Oliver Larkin in Florida. Go spend your time boosting other anti-Zionist politicians and other anti-Zionist organizations. If that's where you spend your, if you don't like Graham Plattner, or you don't like Abdul, or you don't like Shoykot, if you don't think they meet your standards, there's plenty of other work that you can be doing. You're not that important, okay? I don't need all your takes on every single person. Take your energy and the effort you have and go focus on something positive. Contribute. If you don't like someone, but they're an anti-Zionist, shut your fucking mouth about it. You're allowed to shut the fuck up. It's okay. I got my mom to sign Oliver Larker's petitions. I don't live in Florida. Thanks for exposing me to him. You're welcome. He's awesome. We need you guys to get your shit together. We are living in a fascist epoch, and it's about Israel. Israel is the canary in the coal mine. Either you are, like, I can't believe Pat Empanada went from calling GDF an anti-Semite to calling FD signifier a Zog slave within a year. That is the most obvious op and fucking fed I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, actually insanely fucking, like, mentally ill op. What a fucking rat, dude. Jesus.
Against political dissidents in the United States of America, or the UK that's like completely captive to the interests of pro-Israel advocacy organizations.
And by the way, it's not just Israel. The United States of America is threatening Bolivia. The United States of America is threatening Brazil. The United States of America is bailing out Melee to the tune of $40 billion. We are interfering in Latin American politics for the far right and smashing left-wing politicians. It's not just about Israel. It's also, we have got to get America in the hands of the left to protect Latin America from our fascism. We are trying to interfere with Mexico's government. This isn't just Israel. That's why we need AOC to protect Lula, to protect Claudia, to protect Bolivia's movement, to protect Colombia. The United States of America is a vicious threat. We're about to invade Cuba, for the love of God. I won't be advocating for a private army war criminal. You have been turned into an inert, like, okay, you're allowed to not like him and decide to spend your time elsewhere. That's totally fine, because you don't like the fact that he's a veteran or whatever. You are a marginal person. This is what I want you to understand. What percentage of Americans hate veterans? I want to ask you that. Like, you think that it's bad that he's a veteran, right? Like, I understand that you think that's bad. What percentage of Americans hate veterans? What percentage of Brits hate veterans? It's about 7%. So you understand that you're a lifestylist. You're an extremely marginal on this position, right? Extremely marginal. Doesn't that makes you a lifestylist, that you have decided to fixate on this one biographical fact that doesn't hurt him with the regular people. Now, I have problems with I refuse to fight in the global war on terror, and I refuse to invade Iraq, and congratulations. Did you ever pay any personal price? How old were you when America invaded Iraq, by the way? If you were under the age of 10 when America invaded Iraq, stop virtue signaling like you would have been some sort of principled person. You have no idea what you would have thought. Like, give me a fucking break. I would have been morally correct. Meh. The only reason that you have these positions is because people like us fought against it. Get your fucking shit together. Like, and you're allowed to say that veteran, you consider serving in the war on terror to be bad. You're totally free to that. I'm not going to throw out anybody who doesn't like veterans out of my fucking movement. You're allowed to not like veterans. You're allowed to not like veterans. That's totally a position you're allowed to have. But what you're not allowed to do is take your personal moral take to attack an anti-Zionist politician in favor of one of the biggest Zionist footstools in the world, which is the effect of what you're doing and constantly bringing it up. And the fact that you think that you're doing anything but helping Israel is a sign that you have no systemic understanding of what's going on. And why doesn't that bother you? Why doesn't it bother you that you are serving the interests of Israel? Why don't you care about that? Why does that not get through to you? Why do you want Israel to get integrated with America's military and have access to $1.5 trillion to do the genocide? Do you think they're going to stop with the Palestinians? They'll move right on to attacking Jordan, to attacking Lebanon, to attacking Egypt and Turkey and Saudi Arabia. They're not going to stop. And the reason why I'm saying this is because it's not just for these people. A lot of them are too much identify with, and you please edit this out of the video, editor, because no one gives a shit about Bad Empanada. Just edit this stupid aside. This is actually more important. The reason why I'm telling you guys this is so that you have the tools to fight back against this kind of stupidity. I want you to speak out against these people and just say, Plattner is an anti-Zionist. Stopping Israel is my #1 goal. What's yours? They don't have one. They have no goal. And when they show you their ass that they don't care, when they don't show solidarity, even as Hasan is being targeted by the American state and the UK state, these people are not showing solidarity. Doesn't that show you something about them? What if they attacked you? You think you're safe? Do you think you're safe because you didn't put your name, because you've got 200 followers, because you're irrelevant? I am not a U.S. American. The rest of the world thinks U.S. veterans are who they are, raping, pillaging minors. Plus, he was a PMC. Also not attacking. Anyway, you're attacking other left creators pretty hard. Yes, because they're actually making Americans dumb. I need anti-Zionist politicians like AOC and Graham Plattner to win so that I don't get banned and put in prison, you dumb rat fuck. And you think America's going to leave the rest of the world alone? What country are you from? What's your name? Where do you live? City as well. What is your name? Where do you live? What organizations are you a part of? What is your name? First name and last name. Also, send me a picture. Now, if you hesitate, why? Why do you hesitate? Why don't you want to reveal who you are, where you live? Why are you hesitating? Why are you hesitating? If the answer is, well, I don't want to have any consequences in my personal life for my positions, well, congratulations. You figured it out. Your positions have no consequences for you. You don't stand for anything. We'll see. We'll see if we get any of those answers. Yeah, that's what I thought. This is a bit extreme. Asking someone to dox themselves. That's not doxing. Doxing is involuntarily revealing private information. Asking someone what their name is and where they live is not doxing. Doxing would be me finding it and showing it. That's me putting them on the spot to put their name next to their very firmly held positions, right? You believe in them so much, you're willing to throw us all under the bus. Why do you want to be anonymous? You're not standing on business. I stand on business. My name is in the papers as an anti-Zionist. Is yours? Like, it's very simple. But Mike, they need to stay anonymous because their life is so precious and important and yours isn't. Oh, interesting. Interesting. You want to be protected. You want to be safe. But at the same time, you want to pretend like you are you're the most furthest left warrior for the cause. And you are complicit with fascism. You are aiding and abetting fascism by attacking the prominent, non-anonymous left-wing commentators in the heart of the empire who are trying to organize a counter-hegemonic faction to seize state power and thereby end the Gazan genocide. And if you're not American, you should be hoping I win. Because if not, America could very easily invade Canada. America could very easily annex Greenland. America could very easily invade Mexico, Brazil, Argentina. All that shit's on the table. You're dumb if you don't think that it is. You probably won't have to because we have so many collaborators in your countries that our government will almost certainly fund. If you're not scared, you should be. This is the type of shit that happened. World War II is not that long ago. It's less than 100 years ago. That's exactly what happened in Europe. Is when the Nazis took power in Germany, everybody thought they were safe. And within a decade of that, they were marching down Paris. Now, ultimately, we were able to prevail after hundreds of millions of people were killed. The United States of America is much more powerful than Germany was. We have better technology. We have more powerful weapons. We have more influence in your society. You should be praying with every bit that people like AOC and Zogran win. Why haven't we invaded our neighbors yet then? Because the Republicans haven't consolidated power yet. But they're trying. They're trying to consolidate power. This is the moment before the Nazis passed the Enabling Act. They're trying to do that in America today. You think this is as bad as it can get? Zogran, what the fuck? Yeah, sorry, that's what they call him. That's what the Bad and Panada people call Zoran. They're AOCIA and Zogran. That's what they say. And I need you guys I need you to lock in. I need you to stop being silly. I really need you to lock in and stop being silly. These guys are too cowardly to actually even make like a video attacking Hasan. And yet, like, a lot of them attack me as a proxy for Hasan. I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of people will attack me to test an attack vector on Hasan. And if it doesn't work against me, they'll back down. But if it works against me, they'll escalate it to Hasan. That's usually how it works. Why is it always the European left without a fraction of a crumb of power that are very like this? I mean, exactly. It's insane. I mean, and here's the thing. I'm not saying you have to like Graham Plattner. You're allowed to dislike the guy, but you need to have a systemic critique and go, what does he represent to Americans? Anti-war, anti-Zionist, Ernie-crat who wants to pull us out of imperialist wars and have a conciliatory approach to China. That is the structural, that is the policies. Instead of looking at the package of a politician, strip them down. Look at their policies. What do they represent? His brand as like this fucking veteran oyster farmer chud guy, that's wrapping paper. It doesn't mean anything. You got to start thinking about politics like an adult. Stop thinking like a child, a manipulated dope. I need you guys to lock the fuck in. And these are Fed. I mean, and I say Fed because it is a Fed move. The Fed wants to have a compatible left. You are the compatible left. You are the left that's a lifestylist, marginalized pigment with no state power. That's what they want you to be. That's what they want us to be. They don't like AOC winning. They don't like Zoran winning. They're scared shitless of that stuff. Because they create space. Now, obviously, they're not doing enough yet because they don't have enough allies in power. They don't have enough people that are winning us. If more and more anti-Zionists win, that puts pressure on AOC to move to the left. That gives her space to move to the left. That lets people that are sympathetic to us but are scared to take their masks off and come in our direction. There's a lot of people like that who agree with us silently. I mean, there's many people in this chat that would never post anything positive about Palestine because they're scared of getting fired. That's literally what it's about. These ultras could never be satisfied. If Plattner wins it is a line in the Senate, they'll find something to complain about. When he defends the left and expands their power, it won't mean shit to them because they want to be right more than they want the movement. Well, they don't even really have... It's not even really about being right. It's assuaging their own ego. Maureen Galindo lost. This is like one of the things that's really funny about this. He waited till after she lost to do an interview. Why did he wait till after she lost? Because he's a Zionist Fed. Sue me. He's a Fed supported by Zionism. If he had promoted her before the election, maybe she would have gotten a better performance electorally. He waited till after she was guaranteed to be a loser to do the interview, which is exactly what a Zionist would do. Now, I don't like her because she says dumb shit and she had a joke campaign. She says dumb shit and has a joke campaign and discredits the rest of us by saying dumb shit like internment camps are good. What a dumb asshole. And in America, where we interned a lot of innocent people fascistically, and we did, like, it's bad to say internment camps good.
Like, they are moving in a way, and this is
like, and I'm sorry for this long rant. It just pisses me off so much I even have to have this conversation. Like, I am so disappointed in so many people that I even have to have this conversation. Are you stupid? Like, do you think Israel is spending 25 or 50 million dollars against Massey because the elections don't matter? Do you think they're spending 30 million against Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman because it doesn't matter? Watch that interview. She talks about Jewish neurophysiological programming and Jews in Hollywood. No, I don't want to show Bad Empanada's shit. He's a Fed. Like, he is legitimately a Fed. And if you think that he's not a Fed, he's doing exactly what Israel wants every step of the way. Every step of the way, he does exactly what Israel wants. He's always standing on the side of Israel on every single thing. It's so weird how he and Israel are always lined up. It can't be a coincidence. Like, it happening once or twice, it's, you know, maybe you could write that off, but every time on everything? Like, please, these people don't know shit about lobbying or voter suppression. BE literally tried to make the argument that liberals would carve out an exception so Zoran could become president. Like, what happened to the BE video you put up yesterday? I decided that I'd rather not post videos about them because I don't want to engage with them. I want to separate my community from them. And I decided that making videos about them just creates a link algorithmically, and I decided to pull it down. Because it's just like, I don't want anything to do with these people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want anything to do with these people. I'd rather talk to you guys about it live on stream. I haven't banned any of those guys from my chat. Notice these pussies never show up in my chat. They only show up in places where they can manipulate the people. You know what I mean? I guess I wake up too early, right? I'm up too early in the morning. I'm up before 9 a.m., you know? So they don't wake up because, again, you know, they wake up later in the afternoon. It's because we have to follow your cracker ass the chat. These people think that I'm like, they think I'm offended by the fact that you're a follower of a literal settler. like a guy who he's an Argentinian, he's a Greek. He's a Greek Australian. Australia is in the pocket of Israel too. He does no activism in Australia. Not connected to any group. I'm going to call you a cracker to defend my even bigger cracker. The only BE supporter I know IRL is a need who plays Xbox and scrolls Twitter all day. No job, no car, no will to improve themselves. Used to be a Hasan supporter, but now went ultra. Thinks Hasan is a Zionist. It's almost as if Bad Empanada is doing exactly what Israel wants him to do. He's a nihilist third worldist. He's not a third worldist. He's not a nihilist. To give yourself some big grandiose title, you have to be part of something. You're not part of anything. I'm a democratic socialist because I'm part of a major socialist organization with over 110,000 paying members, right? that has elected multiple people to state and local and federal office. I am a democratic socialist because I'm part of an organization. You don't get to call yourself a third worldist because you tweet. You're not anything.
Liberal government, right? The Labor government is supposed to be the liberal government doing this, and the American government is the right-wing government doing it. Like we are in the 1930s era where
BE is a left-adjacent shit poster looking to make his nut. And by the way, like obviously editors, you know, edit all this down. Let's get back to Hasan getting banned. Don't even post this, honestly. Please don't. Like, just remove all that shit I was talking about, bad Ipadata out, because it's fucking useless. Like, I want to have a conversation with you, but you guys don't even make arguments. Like, that's the thing. Like, notice how their arguments shut down the moment I say I don't give a fuck that Graham Plattner was a veteran. You have 7% of people who agree with you. You're marginal. I care about the policy outcomes of stopping Israel. Notice how they're just done then, and there's nothing more. Once I say, hey, I want to take $350 billion away from Israel, notice how it stops. Notice how the arguments, it's a one-step argument, which is you don't matter and I want to stop Israel, and then the argument stops. Like, there's nothing more to say. Once you're like, I care about stopping Israel by defeating AIPAC, then they're done. You support Zionists. No, I don't. I support stopping Israel from getting weapons. And when, by the way, and this is how they're stupid, they try to do this, it's called the fallacy of equivocation, right? So Zohran Mamdani came up with an incredibly effective rhetorical argument. He was asked, do you support Israel's right to exist? And he said, I support its right to exist as a state with equal rights. That was a checkmate move because Zionism is the opposite of that. Zionism is Israel is a Jewish state with Jewish supremacy. By saying I support a state with equal rights, he has just defeated the Zionists. They can't counter argue that. They have to argue, no, Israel shouldn't have equal rights. He has checkmated them. And so these guys take what amounts to a checkmate of the entire Zionist position in America, because no one would support a country that doesn't have equal rights for citizens, right? It's supposed to be a democracy, right? And they try to say that's evidence he supports Israel's right to exist. That's a lie. So they're doing the fallacy of equivocation. They're trying to trick you to think that he said that he supports Israel's right to exist, but what he actually said is he wants to destroy Israel's Zionist project. Now, the form that takes is up to the people that live there. Palestinians. Will that be a one-state solution? Will that be a two-state solution? That's up to the Palestinians. Personally, I think they should take the same path that South Africa did as far as getting rid of the Bantu stands, get rid of the apartheid state, do one state, and they'll win, right? But that's not up to me to say. I'm a fucking white American. Like, why the fuck am I dictating the terms? What Zohran did is he disarmed the idea that he was some sort of that he wanted to exterminate Jews, which is what they're trying to argue. They're trying to say that, oh, you don't support Israel's right to exist, so what happens in Israel will be all the Jewish people in Israel will be exterminated. You blah, 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 blah. You flipped it on them completely. And regular people listened to that and they said, yeah, there should be equal rights in Palestine. And all of the Zionists were marginalized. They don't like that. They want to have a position where they don't communicate in a way that's going to change anybody's mind or bring anybody over to their side, because they think that if you don't already agree with them, you're evil. That's the way they think. They're moralists. They're not trying to do anything. They want to say, if somebody already doesn't agree with me or doesn't have the same knowledge that I currently have, they're evil. But when you learned it and you didn't know, then it was reasonable for you not to know up to the point that you knew, right? You not knowing was fine because you're a good person. And the moment you learned, now everybody who learns after you is a bad person. That's the kind of ego assuaging worldview they have. They can't ever explain what they're trying to actually accomplish. Other than, I'm going to be an edgy boy, maybe online. I would consider supporting a proud war criminal and sex pest evil. He's not a sex pest. All we have is that he was messaging consensually with women. So he's not a sex pest. You lied. And a proud war criminal. What war crimes are you saying he actually performed? And I think one of the things that I would say is Susan Collins is the war criminal. Susan Collins is the one who sent them in. That's the war criminal. The one who voted for the war. The one who ordered the war. That's the war criminal. That's who the fuck is Susan Collins? No, I'm not saying that you need to be okay with the crimes our country committed. Our country committed horrible crimes. We need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We need to pay reparations to the Iraqi people. But you think you're getting reparations for the Iraqi people by keeping in power Susan Collins, the senator from Maine? That's incredible. They don't even know who they don't even know who the Zionists are supporting. That's funny. And there you have it. Are you saying the Bada Banana supporter asked who Susan Collins is? Yeah, I brought it up on screen. You didn't see it? All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on. Jesus Christ. And there you have it. I was phone banking for Holly and talked to an Islamophobe who refused to support equal rights because trying to wipe Jews off the map propaganda over and over. They're probably just a Zionist. Some people are Zionists.
That's like completely captive to the interests of Nick Shirley can go though. Of course, country for 10 years, risk getting deported and not entry into the country for 10 years.
I'm going back
Can
a little
Jeremy
bit.
Corbyn do anything about it? Probably not. I mean, I don't know. Dear Hasan Piker, your UK ETA has been canceled. This means you cannot travel to the UK without a visa. This is because your presence in the UK is not considered to be conducive to the public good. You cannot appeal this decision. Apply for a visa. If you still want to travel to the UK, you need to apply for a visa so we can consider your circumstances in more detail. Having your ETA canceled does not mean you will be refused a visa. Nick Shirley can go though, of course, because Nick Shirley is a dog for the fascist state. Yeah, it's sad, man. What are you going to do? The other day, someone said, watch Labor Party do this a couple days before your trip, and it happened. Yeah, I genuinely, listen, I'm going to say something. This is a warning. I hope you guys understand. The Western world and liberal democracy is a sham, and all of the supposed things that they claim to care about, they do not actually care about. We are moving into a very different timeline. This is why I constantly reiterate that fascism is here. Right? Like the administration trying to deploy subpoenas against political dissidents in the United States of America, or the UK that's like completely captive to the interests of pro.
I think one of the things, like, we have to start making it so that everybody who goes along with this feels uncomfortable in our spaces, right? Like, we have to start creating a new kind of environment where it's all fun and games to kind of criticize or make fun of any of the content creators or whatever. But the moment somebody starts saying, haha, I'm glad that Hasan got banned as an anti-Semite or whatever, or haha, it's good he's getting subpoenaed or whatever, those people, they need to find personal accountability. They need to feel a harsh backlash. All of you should make sure that you're not subscribed to Bada Banana and unsubscribe if you are. The guy said he would work with the Trump administration to help. That stuff gotta go.
Israel advocacy organizations, like they are moving in a way, and this is the liberal government, right? The Labor government is supposed to be the liberal government doing this, and the American government is the right-wing government doing it. Like we are in the 1930s era where I think that the administrations in both the UK and the United States of America, regardless of like their supposed ideological differences, are absolutely moving as a uniparty. And things are going to get even worse from here on out. Yes, I was supposed to fly to the UK Tuesday. I was supposed to fly to the United Kingdom on Tuesday. I was supposed to speak at the Oxford Union alongside Cenk. I was supposed to speak at South by Southwest and also do another interview with Yanis Varoufakis. But Jewish groups call on UK to bar dangerous Hasan Piker amid anti-Semitic attacks. And they did, because Israel advocacy organizations have unbelievable amounts of power over what even the United Kingdom has to say and do. Yeah, if you're an avowed anti-Zionist, your travel will be restricted. It's totally ridiculous, dude. And no, this is not an opportunity for you guys to say go to France or go to other countries, okay? It's very, very shitty. I genuinely did not think this would happen. I'll be honest. You have enough clout now to set the narrative if they turn you away. The UK arresting its elderly for protesting its support of genocide wasn't enough for Keir Starmer. Now the pro-genocide Labour Party is denying entry to anti-genocide tourists. If anything, you should fly out and make it a major news event. What are you talking about, brother? No, I'm not going to...
All that'll happen is he'll get deported. He'll get deported out of the airport and he'll get a 10-year travel ban. It will be a bureaucratic, actually probably won't even be allowed to board the plane on this side. Airlines will not let him board. They'll say you don't have an ETA authorization, you don't have a visa, then you're not allowed on the plane. Even if they fucked up and let him on the plane, he'll get stopped at immigration and he'll be deported.
Put me on a flight if I don't have a visa. You don't know what you're talking about. If the Labor government is actively denying a visa that they already issued to me, because we got the visa and they revoked it, you can't get on a flight. It's not how that works. You can't just like fly. I've been banned from the UK. I tried to get on a flight from London to attend South by Southwest London and give a speech at Oxford. I've been banned for criticizing Israel. Are we free anymore? This is oppression of Western citizens by our own governments on behalf of a different country. Yeah, that's when I found out as well. They wouldn't let Cenk on the flight. At least they didn't let him fly into the country and then deport him. If you can't address Oxford Union in person, can you not interact via Zoom? No, it's not the same. And I don't know what these guys are going to do anyway. Rima Hassan was refused a visa to Canada 2 months ago. Yeah, well, Canada is different because I'm an American citizen. I'm not French. So, I mean, they might do this now that the Commonwealth has established the precedent. This could also potentially limit my travels to Australia, which I was planning to go to. Weren't you let in already once under Starmer? Yes. I've been to the UK on numerous occasions, and all of the stuff that they're complaining about, I said and freely entered the country. Like all the stuff I said prior, the things that they're like complaining about were things that I had said already, and they didn't have any issues with my travel into the UK. So yeah, we've had warnings. It's just time now. Everything else has been 0 to 100. This is what we've learned. We cannot be shocked when history has been playing in front of us in lockstep. As a nation, we've been quiet and idle, which allows it. Yeah, this is straight up fascism. Israel is a fascist country, and it gets to enforce its bidding upon other countries, and in an effort to abide by the
land in Dublin and drive up to Belfast. He can't. I don't think you guys are understanding what this means. He cannot enter the United Kingdom legally. He is banned from the United Kingdom. If he tries to enter the United Kingdom, law enforcement will try to assault him and take him into custody. I don't think you guys understand. What are you not understanding? First world of chatters. Are you not getting it? He's banned from the country. Every law enforcement officer would be tasked with keeping him out of the country. They will physically take him into custody. If he were to illegally cross into Northern Ireland, they would send police, probably MI5, to wherever he was and arrest him. Then he would be deported after being interrogated. Hey, why doesn't he try to enter on a small boat? We'll give him a house and pay for him. Actually, that never happened. Which is why you guys are, that's why your country is falling apart, because you bought lies. Embarrassing. And what the funniest thing about Brexit is all that happened is European immigration to the UK went to 0, and non-European Union immigration rose spectacularly. So your whole Brexit plan resulted in less Europeans and significantly curtailed your own rights to live and work in Europe, and it resulted in more immigration. But no, this time it'll work, guys. It'll be really good. They're gonna fix the housing crisis. I mean, America has had almost no immigrants for better part of 2 years now. Our housing prices are not going down. We're not seeing this like surplus of amazing high quality housing for the working class. Because if you want to fix housing, you need left wingers to do it, because they're the ones who do the thing called building more housing. Everybody else is about servicing capital.
Wishes of a foreign country like Israel, the Western liberal democracies that are supposed to protect and preserve speech, even if they don't have a First Amendment like we do here in the United States of America, they're supposed to have reason, like good reason. This is not one of them. This is not one of them. Being critical of Israel while effectively combating anti-Semitism is not a good enough reason to bar someone entry into the country. Ironically enough, one of my famous speeches that I delivered was at Oxford Union, which is what I was supposed to attend. Once again, where I warned the Western governments, and I warned those who were worried about anti-Semitism that this dangerous association between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, this conflation between Judaism and Zionism, was going to create an environment where anti-Semitism would manifest. I was supposed to see you at the Varoufakis event. I'm so pissed. Well, yeah, I'm pissed too. I really was excited to go to the UK. Like I said, I was linking up with Zach Polanski, Jeremy Corbyn, Giannis Varoufakis. I was doing something at South by Southwest. I was going to be there for almost 7 days, dude. We had a week's worth of events and things to do lined up. Yeah. You're a member of the media? Attack against the free press? Oh, 100%. Left-wing YouTube pundit Cenk, we were banned from entering the UK. Turkish-American book to appear at South by Southwest London as travel authorization revoked by Shabana Mahmood after concern over comments about Israel and grooming gangs? About grooming gangs? The
I'm sure Jank and Anna did some sort of right baiting thing where they talked about grooming gangs in a stupid way, but they're not. I think one of the things about fascism is they just do the exact same thing. There's no innovations in fascism. They always do the exact same thing. It's fucking Mad Libs or ad libs. You know what I mean? Mad Libs. They just it's like, you know, minority group, blah, blah, blah. Minority group is doing sex crime. You know, it's the same shit. It's the same exact shit. And what you put in there depends upon what minority group is in your country, right? In Germany, they were like, Jews were doing sex crimes. In the UK, it's like, well, South Asians are doing sex crime. Like, it's the exact same shit. It's just Mad Libs. They just change out the minority and they plug in the same thing. In America, it's black people did sex crime. That's what the Southern evangelical fascist neo-Confederates did. It's the exact same fucking thing every time, word for word, copied. And people fall. A certain percentage of people have a brain that falls for this shit.
Surprised that they went after Jank too. It's very obvious that it's like, it's not even just the fact that it's not just me, dude. I can't believe it. I cannot believe how much motion Israel has over other countries. Like, what the meanwhile, speaking of motion Israel has over other countries, we were just talking about Connie Chen. Obvious.
And like, this is why it's so important. It's why it's so important to understand that this is not a joke. This is not something that you need to like, don't cope. This isn't going to Streisand effect. This isn't going to be like, well, he could just fly to so-and-so else. They're going to try to use this to then get him banned from the European Union. They're going to use this to try to get him banned from Canada. They're going to use this to try to get him banned from South Korea or Japan. Right? This is an effort to contain and marginalize Hasan. And then anytime somebody works with Hasan, they'll be like, he was banned from the UK for anti-Semitism. That's what the centrists are planning on doing with this. I need you guys to understand. And then imagine you're somebody who's never heard of Hasan Piker. And the first time you hear of Hasan Piker, he was banned from the UK for anti-Semitism. Are you going to believe that he's anti-Semitic? Do you think the average normie is going to hear that and go, well, I'm going to have to investigate this? I'm not sure that he's actually anti-Semitic. It's about a attack on his credibility. It's about making easy where they could just report that he was X, Y, and Z thing without actually having to demonstrate it because they can't deal with his arguments and his popularity. So they're using everything they can in the mainstream media in order to discredit the man. I'm very worried about the long-term consequences of this because once a country like the UK has banned him, it becomes easier for our opponents to pressure other governments to do the same thing. Exactly. He said he had plans to go to Australia, and now he might be barred from there too. Exactly. Canada as well. He can appear digitally, though.
Israel is subverting American democracy once again. Bezalel Smotrich is in the United States of America. Let's take a look. Israel Day Parade in New York City with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, far-right Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, and other far-right Israeli lawmakers and American politicians march on Fifth Avenue. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani decided to skip the event. Look at this. They're flexing on us. David Taylor demanded Niqab be banned from Glastonbury for criticizing Israel, demanded Bob Villan be banned from Glastonbury for criticizing Israel, and is now demanding Hasan Piker be barred from entering the country for, yes, you guessed it, criticizing Israel. That's a Labor guy, by the way. That's a Labor guy. It's a Labor government that banned me. I've literally been to the UK. So ridiculous. Liberal democracy is dead. It was already dying due to how aggressive the contradictions were becoming, how apparent they were becoming, but Israel killed it. Israel is the final blow, straight up. I appreciate Smotrich comparing the parade to Jerusalem Day Flag March. The two are interconnected after all. One is an annual Kristallnacht knock for Palestinians. The other exists to support that effort. Yep.
And like, one of the things is like a lot of people try to pretend that Hasan has been marginalized by AOC and Zohran Mamdani. And the answer is he hasn't. Zohran Mamdani's closest political ally is Claire Valdez. Claire Valdez came on my stream. Claire Valdez came on my fucking stream. She came on Hasan's stream. That is Zohran's closest ally in the entire fucking all of politics is Claire Valdez. Okay. Just so you understand who that is. They are not in any way condemning or distancing themselves from us at all. That's just not true. Now, everybody's gonna, yeah, of course in New York, you're gonna have to say what he said about 9/11 was dumb. You're allowed to disagree. By the way, I thought that the way he's phrased that was not well argued. He gave people a clip, and you can't do that. It is what it is. It's funny, it's memeable because he doesn't support terrorism. And we all used to laugh at 9/11. Everybody laughed at 9/11. That's the like millennials used to laugh at 9/11 all the time. This kind of like performative, and so did boomers. This kind of like, oh my God, you can't laugh about 9/11. Oh, this is shit from people who weren't conscious when 9/11 happened. Mamdani and AOC splitting up the NYDSA slate ensures that all the DSA candidates can put a famous face on their flyers, well, except for Blackburn, while minimizing potential political backlash from Mamdani and AOC. Yes, exactly. Exactly. AOC and Mamdani are beloved in New York. So they could decide to split these things, and effectively the entire DSA slate was endorsed, which is another way of saying we're fucking winning. Our plans are actually working. I have my problems with AOC and my criticisms of Zoran, but it's literally fucking working. Should AOC make a statement? Should AOC and Zoran make I think they should. But you know who made a statement? Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn warns UK attacking freedom after Hasan Piker ban. In September last year, this is by Jeremy Corbyn. In September last year, Keir Starmer welcomed the president of Israel, Isaac Herzog, to Downing Street. This is a man who previously said there are no innocent civilians in Gaza and it is an entire nation that is responsible. December 2024, he was pictured sighting an artillery shell that before was fired toward Gaza. I was one of 60 MPs and lords who signed a letter to the UK government asking what legal advice they had received regarding Herzog's visit, whether his entry was compatible with our obligations under the Genocide Convention. Herzog's statements were even cited in the case against Israel at the International Court of Justice, one of several institutions that has ordered Israel to cease committing genocidal acts against the Palestinian people. The UK government, Herzog, is not a threat to peace. That threat comes from those who speak out against the genocide that Herzog's nation is committing. This week, the UK government decided to ban Cenk Uygur and Hasan Piker, two vocal critics of Israel and its genocidal campaign in Gaza, from entering the UK. But an absurd and cowardly decision from a government that is becoming more authoritarian by the day. Let us call outrageous decision out for what it is, an attack on the freedom to criticize Israel and call out the UK government's own complicity in genocide. This is no isolated incident. It is part of a wider crackdown on the global movement for Palestine. Last month, the Prime Minister said he wanted protest marches to be subjected to tougher action, saying that there are instances in which he would support stopping some pro-Palestine protests altogether. This accompanied an outrageous statement from the Met Police Commissioner who repeated baseless smears against our mass movement for peace. More than 2,000 people have now been arrested for their alleged support of Palestine action following the government's absurd decision to proscribe the group, a decision that has since been ruled unlawful. Most have been arrested simply for holding placards. That includes doctors, teachers, vicars, pensioners, and family members of Holocaust survivors. This government could have ended arms sales to Israel at any point, could have imposed widespread sanctions, and could have stopped sharing military intelligence. But instead of fulfilling its legal obligation to prevent genocide, it has exerted its time and energy on a different endeavor, suppressing, silencing, and criminalizing those who have the audacity to speak out. With this latest decision by the Home Secretary, we are well and truly through the looking glass. As of today, Israel has killed at least 73,000 Palestinians. Many, many more are presumed dead under the rubble, buried by the moral cowardice of governments around the world. In Britain today, representatives of nations that stand accused of crimes against humanity are welcome. Those who speak out against crimes against humanity are not. What a truly dreadful decision. One that further cements this government's legacy as on the wrong side of history. The facts of the matter are very simple. Israel has been committing genocide, and the government is still supplying arms to Israel as it continues to bomb and starve the Palestinian people. No matter how hard it tries, the UK government will never stop us campaigning for truth, accountability, and justice for the Palestinian people. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why electoral politics is important. Why we do occasionally vote or support people that I don't love. Because when Jeremy Corbyn was defeated by the organized efforts of the Israeli lobby in the United Kingdom, it led to the rise of Keir Starmer. It has led directly to the suppression of the left in the United Kingdom and the rise of fascism. That's why we do what we do. That's why we make compromises and support people that are even to my right, because I recognize where America's policies are determined is through the electoral process. And if we have the opportunity to make that better, even marginally, we should. And it's not complicated. Got a fucking headache.
Hey guys, so I'm sitting here prepping for the show and eating, and Crystal tells me that Hasan Piker and Cenk Uygur were both banned from the UK. Their visas were revoked. And the reason is they criticize Israel. I wish I was kidding. I'm not. Did they try to, like, say, Crystal, that, oh, they're anti-Semitic or something like that?
According to Cenk, they just said.
By the way, what an ironic way to react, because, like, you're just making his case more solid.
Correct.
Like, what a ridiculous. Oh, yeah, you're so out of bounds that I will do exactly the thing that you said I do. Like, what the fuck is this?
Show you that Israel.
Now, at the same time, Bezalel Smotrich, the genocidal freak from Israel, one of the top government officials, who said, like, all of Gaza should be destroyed. I mean, he's got, a litany of horrendous, disgusting statements. He was just in the U.S., in New York, for the Israel parade. So if you're following along here, genocidal criminals are apparently allowed in our country, but Hasan and Cenk can't go to the UK because they've said mean and accurate things about Israel. So, I mean, look, man, this is one of those things where it's like the West, whatever the fuck that means, we're not free. We're not free. It's ludicrous at this point to call us free. Whether it's, going after Rumeysa Ozturk and Mahmoud Khalil, going after the people who made jokes about Charlie Kirk, the 1,001 ways Trump has, like, sued the media and tried to silence the media for criticizing him. It's at the point now where it's like we've hit a tipping point. And I think it's fair to say we are in outright authoritarianism, not only in this country, but in the UK. And I should point out, this was the Labour government that did it in the UK. The Labour government. So what's supposed to be the nominally left-wing party just decided to ban Hasan and Cenk for criticizing Israel. In fact,
I think it's very important to understand that, and I'm going to say something that a lot of people aren't going to like to hear, but you need to hear it. Kamala Harris had won, she would be doing the same shit. And you could just you could go and look what her supporters were saying. If you go look at what Hutch was saying, if you go look at what Destiny were saying, they were like, when Kamala Harris wins, that's proof we don't need those tankies. We're going to purge the tankies from our party. And so if you're like, oh, a lot of people said, haha, he got investigated for going to Cuba. Kamala wouldn't have done that. Well, Keir Starmer is a close ally of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris took advice from Keir Starmer's party. Here it is. Washington Post. UK Labour strategist advised Harris on winning from the center left. After Keir Starmer led the Labour Party to a big win in July's election, UK strategists say they have relevant insights to share with Kamala Harris's campaign. September 14, 2024. These were very close allies. Practically identical. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer didn't meet with Harris when visiting the White House on Friday, but his two former top staffers were in Washington this week, briefing Democrat strategists and pollsters from the Harris campaign. The two campaigns have deployed strikingly similar messaging. Stop the chaos, turn the page, start to build was Labor's slogan as it made a case against the Conservative Party that had been in power for 14 years. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page and end the chaos, Harris said, trying to position herself as the change candidate in her debate with former President Donald Trump. British pollster Deborah Mattinson, a former top advisor to Starmer, and Claire Ansley, Starmer's former director of policy, jointly briefed Harris campaign staffers this week on a target demographic they call hero voters. In Britain, Ansley told the Washington Post that those tend to be voters who traditionally back Labour but had supported the 2016 Brexit referendum and the Get Brexit Done election campaign of Boris Johnson's Conservative Party in 2019. They were struggling with daily living costs and wanted change. Tapp told the Post about speaking at an event on appealing to working-class voters to not ignore concerns about immigration and borders. And Labour has pledged to smash the gangs that smuggle people into Britain illegally. So if you're like, oh, Kamala Harris would have been so much different than Keir Starmer. They're the identical politicians that was literally advising. And that's why we need to be smarter about the way we discuss these issues. Kamala Harris lost in part because she didn't energize the left. And in America, I'll be honest with you, chat, the left is stronger in America than it is in the UK. I know a lot of people are going to be very surprised I said that, but it's the case. It is the actual truth. And we have an opportunity here to win. We have an opportunity here to run in an anti-incumbent, anti-Trump period when we seize power. That's why, a lot of people, they kind of wonder why I support AOC. AOC is positioned to be running in an open presidential election where there's going to be an anti-Republican wave. We have an opportunity to boost people that are not involved with politics, who feel alienated. We have the opportunity to seize power we're not going to get this chance again. Probably before I hit retirement age. I'm being completely honest with you. If we don't win in 2028 with AOC, we'll probably not get another shot at it until I'm in retirement age. So at least 10, 15 years. And God knows what will be happening to the world in 10 or 15 years. It's literally now or never. Why did Norm Finkelstein say AOC is a moron airhead? He's a boomer man who's probably a little bit sexist. Let's be honest with ourselves, chat. Being a young, beautiful woman, you know, a lot of guys have a problem. You know, a lot of guys are comfortable with kind of calling her an airhead because they feel emasculated by her. You know, it is what it is. It is what it is. You know, Norm has some occasional bad takes. I could disagree with that. It's fine. I mean, it is what it is. A lot of young men seem to have, you know, there's a lot of guys that have trouble with AOC. But also, it's also her fault as well. And the reason why it's her fault is we are living in Schmittian times. As I said earlier, friend-enemy distinction. AOC hasn't grokked that yet. AOC hasn't fully processed that you cannot make triangulating statements of any kind. Nobody likes it. Literally, nobody likes it. It used to be that was something that you would do, but now you cannot do it. This is my voter psychology, Mike from PA, super advanced take. You cannot make anytime you make a triangulating statement of any kind, you do nothing but hurt yourself. And I don't think AOC understands that. If I were to have a conversation with her and she would say, Mike, I will do one thing that you tell me to do, I would say, never make another triangulating statement again for the rest of your life. If I could put a fucking spell binding on AOC, I would do that. What does that mean? A triangulating statement would be like, you know, I believe that we should have a good immigration system, but we still need to enforce our borders. That's a triangulating statement because the left wants to have comprehensive immigration reform that creates amnesty, a path to citizenship, and a rationalized economic immigration system that allows people to come into this country and work legally, right? That's the left-wing position on immigration, right? Every time you're like, well, I see why people think immigration needs to be restricted. You're making a triangulating statement. You're giving rhetorical space to the right, you know? And the thing is, that doesn't help you with anyone. Nobody hears that and goes, oh, common sense. You're moving to the center. They just go, all the anti-immigration people are like, she's lying. She's a liar. She wants open borders. And all the pro-immigration people are like, oh my God, oh my God, she's trying to restrict. She supports ICE, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't help you. Nobody likes it. Everybody hates it when you make a triangulating statement. So your choices are shut the fuck up or throw red meat. That's the world we live in. Shut the fuck up or throw red meat. If somebody tries to ask you a question about an issue that your position isn't very popular on, change the subject to something that it is by making a very abrupt statement that is very challenging on another issue. That's the way you should be acting as a politician right now. You should be stuffing red meat down your party's throat, and you should be silent about shit that isn't that good for you. And you know, ultimately, that's why Trump won. That's exactly what Trump did. Whenever somebody would bring up some shit he didn't want to talk about, he would just say something extreme about something he wanted to talk about, and the subject would get changed. That's what people want nowadays. That's why, like, even when I say something like, hey, you should support Graham Plattner because it's good for stopping Zionism, that's a triangulating statement. A lot of people hear that as a triangulating statement. That I'm not opposing imperialism enough because I don't hate all veterans. I'm not trying to heap scorn on American veterans. That means that I like the war on terror. That's the way people interpret me saying that. Like, they're saying, Mike is saying that being anti-veteran is a marginal position in American politics that would hurt our movement if it became what we were talking about all the time, instead of like attacking Zionism. And people go, oh, that means you support war criminals, because again, they interpreted it as a triangulating statement.
Hasan,
see what I mean? You guys get what I'm saying? And I think AOC doesn't understand that. In fact, I think she makes a lot of triangulating statements. And that's like her biggest weakness as a politician. Her biggest weakness as a politician is she takes, like, when she's doing something really left wing, she sometimes presents it in a way that's triangulating rhetoric, even though she's doing something that no one else is doing. And so people receive that as, oh, she's kowtowing to the right, even though she's doing something no one else does. And I feel like she needs to get more comfortable with feeding red meat. If she does that, she'll win. If she doesn't, she'll lose. A recent example of that was the San Antonio race, where she was like, oh, I don't like this anti-Semite. She spoke out. She should just shut the fuck up about it. And if asked about it, been like, I don't give a shit about somebody who raised $10,000 and has no chance. Can we talk about Israel's genocide and how they are seizing more land in Lebanon? That is the way to do what that's what she should have done, right? Say, I don't care, this lady's irrelevant, and then moved on to something that the base would be pissed off about. That's the way a politician should be operating in our climate. And like, I think a lot of the people that came up in the like 2016 era, they don't understand that we're in a different era now. They're still trying to do like the, guys, I'm not that, left wing. I'm not left wing, right? I'm grassroots. And it's like, no, don't. You're acting self-conscious about your positions. You shouldn't do that. People could detect that as inauthenticity. You need to not do that. Don't act like you are, you're caught. Be loud and proud. People don't know what the fuck they're talking about anyway. You could literally, like in our politics today, you could adopt any position. There is no position you can't adopt. Literally, there is total freedom. As long as you say it loud and proud and confidently and unabashedly, you're fine. Rhetorical specificity is not as valuable as the strength of conviction to most people, not just in politics. Yes, of course, because it's lawyerly. It's lawyerly to talk like that, and people don't like it because they can detect that you're trying to evade. Don't do that. Now, that's why everybody hates Congress, because that's all they talk like. There's a reason why Donald Trump won. Donald Trump won because he doesn't talk like that.
When he was going to the UK, one of the things he was going to do, among a bunch of things, is have some sort of event or do some sort of interview with Jeremy Corbyn, the former leader of the Labour Party. But now the Keir Starmer's Labour Party is apparently so authoritarian and so anti-free speech and so anti-truth that you get banned for saying things that are just factually accurate. By the way, like, as I'm sure you guys know, I've heard Hasan do rants.
That's why a lot of leftists are acting like, as Alka Treiser says, which is a caricaturized versions of leftists that right-wingers talk about. Yeah, exactly. In order to demonstrate that they're actually the most left, they act like the version of leftists that right-wingers talk about, right? Like, that's like the... All American military are baby killers, blah, 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 blah. You're acting like the way that right-wingers describe the left to scare your parents, right? You are, and of course, like, adopting Maoist third worldist language while you sit on your fat fucking ass eating DoorDash all day it's like rhetorically called for right now, right? Like, people like that because you are, as I said, feeding them red meat. We have Korean barbecue politics. That's the politics we're in right now. Everybody's on 50 milligrams of edibles and they're at an all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue. And the person that brings them more ribs and more bulgogi and is going to win. And every time you're like, maybe we should get some greens, guys. Everybody's like, boo, fuck you. Give me more beef. Guys, I think we should have a little bit of carrots. Boo.
And Jank
unironically, Korean barbecue politics. All you can eat Korean barbecue politics. Which my example is not even good because half of Americans have never had kimchi. Or I wonder what percentage of Americans have never had kimchi. It's probably like 90%. Oh, somebody said I'm hungry. Not anymore. Waffle and egg from Vio. Nice. Thanks, Vio. I'm eating it. All right, let's keep going.
Where they actually like stress the point that you cannot and should not blame all Jews for the actions of Israel. And they've explained that in phenomenal ways where there's no denying these people actually care about anti-Semitism, but they also are anti-genocide and anti-apartheid and anti-terrorism. But here we are, man. I really feel like the Israel lobby is sort of out over its skis here. Like, you've already lost the entire younger generation. And this is only going to like lock that in place and solidify it. It is wild to me that you can have stuff like this happen. You could have these like anti-BDS laws in America where you can't get a government contract if you criticize Israel. It's very strange, the like outright authoritarian extremist tactics that this government uses and this lobby uses to try to get their way. It really is. They really are like among the worst of the worst in terms of their impact on our politics. And the thing is now, everybody sees it. Everybody sees it. You know, there's no way around it. Everybody, you're not going to gaslight us out of the obvious truth that you guys have way too much money, way too much impact in our politics. And now it's at the point where, like, you know, well-meaning left-leaning commentators can't even go into your country to give a speech. Like that. And stop and think about this. So if you're in the UK, like, you could just turn on Twitch or go to YouTube and watch Hasan say the same things that he would say if he was giving speeches in the UK in person. Like, what do you, like, how are you, like, keeping the country safer or whatever fucking bullshit you want to peddle here? And the fact of the matter is, it's got nothing to do with that.
It's, by the way, it's not even about that, guys. It's about giving the newspapers more things they can say, right? It's about discrediting Hasan to normies. They're calling, they want to ban him. Vio has been a moderator for 66 months. What the fuck is this alert? What the fuck is this alert? Mike, did you upload the new emote? No, I'm not giving the new emote until I hit 7,000 subs. Until I hit 7,000 subs, they're not getting the new emote. Fuck this. Fuck this. Is the emote amazing? Yes. Yes, it is. You guys want to see the emote? This is the first Sticks emote. The first Sticks emote on the channel. The first cat emote. It's a derivative of the VO shake made by Feed Me Don't Kill Me. IVO. TSO, isn't it? No. Mike stole VO's emotes. So true. All right, back to the actual serious conversation we were having.
They know it's got nothing to do with that. You are committing the ultimate sin and the ultimate crime if you criticize the Israeli terror rape state. Okay, that's how they view it. So we're going to try to censor you. We're going to try to silence you. And they're trying to lay a precedent here where it's like, if you're thinking about speaking out, if you're thinking about criticizing Israel, don't fucking do it. Shut the fuck up, or maybe your life gets ruined, right? Maybe you can't go to these places that you want to go to because you dare to actually tell the truth about the genocide that we all witnessed with our own two eyes. So I don't know, man. It's really dark and really disturbing to see even a labor government, right, who are supposed to nominally be the good guys. Even the labor government is now just going full, like, MAGA, authoritarian, fascist, and catering to, like, the worst government on earth. If I'm being honest, it really makes me think, like, they have insane dirt on Keir Starmer as well. Like, that's actually what this makes me think. In the same way that we know that, you know, Trump is blackmailed with the Epstein files, and they got all sorts of dirt on him, and I'm sure we don't know the half of it at this point. It makes me think that they have something really, really dark and disgusting and disturbing on Keir Starmer. Because this is, like, on top of being stupid and wrong, it's also kind of humiliating. It's also humiliating. So anyway, solidarity with Hasan, solidarity with Cenk. I genuinely find this crazy. And I'm, you know, me and Crystal are looking at each other like, I guess we're banned from there too, probably. You know, like, if we were to try to go, it'd probably be the same shit, right? Maybe we're fortunate enough because there hasn't been as many negative headlines about us, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Oh, no, definitely. Like, anybody, you know, Kyle's like, he's laughing, but he's not. By the way, you shouldn't laugh. Because, like, basically everybody who's associated with Hasan, which is every prominent left-wing commentator in this country, is being targeted by Israel. Everybody who's not a fucking shill for Israel and centrist Democrats on the left is being targeted by Israel. Hasan is just the most popular one and the most challenging one electorally for their power base, which is why he's being targeted first. Like, you should consider this to be a personal attack on all of us. I'm still trying to figure out how y'all got banned from the most humdrum country. Are you really trying to figure it out? Are you really confused? I think the first thing that I would say is, if you're confused, the reason why you're confused is because your level, like, the analysis that you have is bad. You know, that's number one. Like, that's just number one. If you're confused, like, either the way that you have been given information to this point is bad, or you're not able to, like, understand the world systems as they exist. And I'm not saying that to bust you up. Like, I get it. Like, I get it. But the answer is because we are challenging Israel's power. Hasan is very effectively challenging Israel's power over the United States. And if Israel doesn't have power over the United States, then it loses its grip over Europe. Europe is a puppet of the United States. The United States is puppeted or serves the interests of the AIPAC lobby because of the way our politicians are incentivized. And yes, there's obviously, you know, the U.S. empire as well gets advantages from having Israel as a cat's paw. But American politics, Americans and American interest is not the same thing as Israeli interest. Israeli interest is actually advanced over America's interest. Do you think attacking Iran helped America's interest? That's why a lot of these deterministic ways of looking at the world are impoverished and stupid. Like the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal. Was that in America's interest or not? Israel didn't like it. Israel was against it. And yet Obama signed it. So was it in America's imperial interest or was it against America's imperial interest? If it was against America's imperial interest, how did it happen? If it was in favor of America's imperial interest, why did Trump revoke it? And then Biden refused to re-enter it. It's because there is a range of things that can happen through politics in America. And some of them are better than others in real tangible ways. And some of them are against America's imperial interests, but are in the interest of human dignity. And maybe there is a difference between America's interest and Israel's interest. And that's what the Israel lobby is there to do. It's to push America to operate in its interest. And so Hasan Piker represents the only actual attack happening on Israel's power in the world right now, outside of the physical resistance that's happening over in the Middle East. The number one best way to disrupt Israel is to seize power in the American state with people that are anti-Israel. That's why they are so focused on him, because he's the most dangerous man in the world to Israel's interest. That's what they're saying. Maybe not the most dangerous, but you get my point. Like he's clearly, for the American Zionists and Israel's government, they put him as one of the most dangerous people against their interest. A fucking Twitch streamer. And why do they feel that way? Because Zohran Mamdani won. The combined effort of the Israel lobby and the billionaire class got their ass beat in America's biggest city. And Hasan Piker was a clear catalyst for that happening. They're scared. They're fucking scared. They're going to lose power.
Maybe a year or two more before there's just as many like outrage headlines about me or you as there is about Hasan, you know? So yeah, truly. But I would say to Hasan, where does a badge of honor, you know? Where does a badge of honor? This is one of those things that like they write about it in the history books. And they say like, yeah, this is when everybody lost their fucking minds and they went full authoritarian to protect the world's most depraved genocidal terror rape state that's currently committing multiple genocides and fighting on 7 fronts. By
the way, they didn't lose their mind. Like, I understand what he's saying, but I want you to understand that they didn't lose their mind. It's very material, okay? The political classes have a financial and personal incentive to support Israel because Israel has filled our societies with agents who attack people that are against the interests of Israel and benefit those that are for the interests of Israel. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's out in our fucking face. It's not about some other. It's about a state operating an intelligence service. It is not complicated for their own benefit. They get hundreds of billions of dollars. They get military assistance, diplomatic assistance, and all they have to do is buy some politicians in America. You spend $100 million on the Congress and you get $350 billion back. That's a 3,500% return. Like, this is what is happening. It's not complicated. It's a fucking bargain. Trump supporting oligarch Ron Lauder, president of the World Jewish Congress, who was reported behind the Greenland push and whose son-in-law Trump tapped for Fed chair, calls for an iron dome for disinformation because too many people are seeing what Israel is doing.
This, and it still ignores this. And this is absolutely outrageous. Israel can't afford to ignore it any longer. It can't afford to isolate itself even further. From this day forward, Israel must devote much of its resources into this battle. Think of it this way. Just like the rockets that hit Israel a year ago, the Jewish state is facing rockets of disinformation every minute of every day. There is no less a campaign to destroy the country. And it's coming from TikTok. It's coming from mainstream media, from the BBC, from CNN. It's coming from each posting, each headline, each fake photo of a starving child in Gaza. And these lies are no less dangerous than the rockets heading towards Jewish homes. And they are constant. Israel must create a new Iron Dome to not just fight this never-ending cascade of lies, but it also must go on the offensive. There should be a completely new and vitally important government operation with a new director, not just a political appointee, but someone who knows PR and news backwards and forwards.
Now, a lot of people will say, if I said this, they would call me an anti-Semite. Like Barry Weiss, Larry Ellison, they do it. They're doing it. The 2026 Hasbara budget is $730 million. Israel just quintupled its PR budget to $730 million. Israel is betting $750 million that it could talk its way out of its reputation crisis. That's from 1 month ago. And I think like the main problem that we have is that we don't have a left-wing culture, a culture of solidarity. Anybody who's targeted by Israel, we need to start drawing around them and defending them.
Hi, guys. I just got banned from the United Kingdom. Not joking. I'm not exaggerating. I just got back from the airport and I was going to get on a flight to go to London. And they said, I'm sorry, sir, there's a problem. I said, what's the problem? They said, you've been banned from the United Kingdom. So that just happened. This is what I was going to the airport in. And they said that the British government has rejected my visa. They did not give an explanation at that time, but we now have the explanation. It was in an article in Times of London, as butchered as that article was. And I'll explain to you why they say that they're banning me and why I'm apparently a danger to the public order. I didn't know I had that kind of power. It's interesting. I walk into the public and people go nuts, apparently.
By the way, the recent uptick in infighting and ultras on Twitter had my thinking. What makes us think Hasbara will use the same strategy? If I were Israel, I'd be boosting and paying these leftist infighters. Yeah, I know. I saw the increase in intensity from Bad and Panada. What's this budget passed? I personally think that he's a Fed. I unironically think Bad and Panada is a Fed. Why is he focused so much on Graham Plattner, right? Because they're trying to defeat him because it's the primary's about to happen. He's gaining, like he was surging in popularity. They're trying to arrest that by any means necessary, which means attacking his base. Separate Graham Plattner from people like myself and Hasan. So we feel we get nervous about endorsing Plattner because we get called, imperialists and our reputations take damage for endorsing Plattner, right? Notice that I'm the only one who's like, I don't give a shit about that. Like, no, you have to support Plattner, obviously. Like, what? Other people are a little bit more precious about their brand. So they're kind of be like, I would vote for him, but, I don't like him. Like that. That's the target. It's a target of trying to arrest his support by attacking his social media strength, right? And there's a long time between now and November, right? So that's why Plattner is the #1 Israeli target in the world right now. So the Israelis are very focused on discrediting him because if he wins, he's winning in a swing state. He flips the state from Republican control to Democrat control. He's an anti-Zionist. He's anti-war. He's pro-Medicare for all. He's a fan of Michael Brooks, who is one of the most important internationalist thinkers on the left before he died suddenly. Like, I'm sorry. I'm going to carry that. I'm going to carry that forward and say anybody who's a fan of Michael Brooks is not a secret imperialist. It's dumb as fuck. And like, if he wins after all these scandals, that's an even stronger sign that anti-Zionism is that popular, that people are willing to overlook the fact that he did dumbass shit. By the way, what is the dumb shit he did? Made anonymous Reddit posts that were not vetted for prime time, that he sent messages to women that were not his wife but didn't actually have any affairs, and his wife and him worked it out 2 years ago through marriage counseling. Like, that's the scandals. Meanwhile, what are her scandals? Her husband is a fucking Wall Street lobbyist. She voted for every war. She supports, the Supreme Court being fascist and taking away a women's right to choose. She supports every war America has launched. In the global war on terror, she supports invading Iran. She's anti-Palestinian. She's a Zionist footstool. Like, that's her scandals. His scandals are some bullshit. Oh, Mike, he was a veteran. She voted for every war. She's directly responsible for every war. If Susan Collins didn't vote to send Graham Plattner to Iraq, there is no Graham Plattner in Iraq. There are no war crimes to commit but for people like Susan Collins. And now he comes and says those wars were in vain and they're bad. One of his scandals is looking at a veteran in a video of combat in Iraq and saying that guy's a dumb fuck piece of shit who doesn't know. One of his scandals is edgy posts making fun of an American soldier in combat for being an incompetent idiot. Isn't that like half the people that like Graham Plattner? Aren't you guys on those same Reddits making those same kind of posts? Like, why don't you think of it? Why aren't you laughing along with, like, what? That's his scandal. His scandal is basically being an edgy online leftist. That's what they say by Reddit posts. And then he had some older ones where he was being a white guy from Maine, which is 95% white, and being, you know, posting racially insensitive shit out of ignorance. Not, and by the way, not him saying that white people are superior, just dumb fucking stereotypes and asking about them like a moron, honestly. I can't wait for this election to be over. It's never going to change. You got to learn, like, the reason why I am different than everybody else is I want you guys to be smart. I want you guys to be able to see through this bullshit. Politicians are about delivering policy. What policies are they about? I don't care about almost anything else. Now, obviously, there's some personal scandals or corruption scandals that would be so beyond the pale that I wouldn't support them because it would tarnish our movement, obviously. But nothing that, but you have to be able to see past this kind of shit if you want to be a strong political movement. Do you think the fascists, if they had abandoned Trump when the pussy tape had come out, which was him advocating sexual assault, would the right wing in America be better off if they had abandoned Trump and installed Mitt Romney right before? Like, you see what I mean? Like, I'm not advocating ignoring crimes. I'm just saying the right wing doesn't seem to fall for this type of dumb shit. They seem to understand that political power is more important than virtue signaling about how moral you are. The Epstein class is going to do this forever. They're going to do the same thing to me. They're going to do the same thing to, they're going to go through everybody who's ever an anti-Zionist and look for anything they can that you've ever done. Whether it's you made a fucking edgy post when you were 12 on your social media, they're going to dig that shit up because they're going to have AI and they're going to link it to you and they're going to find your posts. Like, I'm sorry, you got to be smarter than this. Even if you go and delete them, they're going to be archived. I mean, obviously, you should go and clean up anything that you have that's out there that's bad, that you don't agree with anymore. But they're not showing that because they care about the post. They're doing it to discredit an anti-Zionist. You lock the fuck in. Why do you want to be tricked, by the way? That's the question I have for a lot of people that are like, why do you want to be tricked and be deorganized? Why do you want Susan Collins to win? Why do you want that? Like, why are you going, I want the guy who speaks out against the Israelis' genocide unabashedly to lose? What will that do for you? What will that do for our movement? I literally want to know, like, what is the outcome that you think's gonna happen that's going to be good? I want you to trace forward. Let's say that Hasan and I and everybody else did what you want us to do, which is to say Graham Plattner is a war criminal because he's a veteran. We don't support him. Don't vote for Graham Plattner. All right. And he loses to Susan Collins. Then what? Then what? What's step two? Then Susan Collins votes to integrate the American military with Israel. They give $1.5 trillion to Israel. Israel invades Lebanon, does more ethnic cleansing, kills all the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. Then what? Like, I want to know what happens next. Zohran Mamdani is unpopular because he compromised on a few things. He gets thrown out of office. Then what? AOC is defeated in the primary. Gavin Newsom wins the primary. Then what? The same argument works for the 2024 election. No, it doesn't, you dumb fucking moron. You're stupid. You're fucking stupid. Kamala Harris was an unrepentant Gaza genocide supporter, an AIPAC stooge. It's not the same thing. You're fucking stupid. And by the way, Kamala Harris winning would have been better than Trump winning. But I knew she would lose because she was an AIPAC stooge. That's why I was against her. But if Kamala Harris had come out and said, I've realized that Joe Biden is terrible and we need to rein in Israel and I will have different policies and I will end the war immediately upon being sworn in. I will end all aid to Israel. I would have voted for her and told you to vote for her. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you have said, yes, stop the genocide? That's amazing. I vote for Kamala Harris now. Even if I didn't like her. I need to ask yourself, what will happen if you get what you want? Everybody condemns Graham Plattner. He loses to Susan Collins. Susan Collins wins. Then what? Zohran Mamdani's reputation is smeared as a Zio, a liberal Zio. He's thrown out. He gets replaced with Andrew Cuomo. AOC loses. She gets thrown out of office, replaced by a Zio, an outright Israel-supporting Zionist who says we need to increase funding. I want to know what happens next. I want to know what happens next.
I know and know that
Tina Peters, newly freed by Colorado Governor Jared Polis, begins her MAGA media tour by telling Steve Bannon that Democrats are cheating on elections, and she was imprisoned as retribution for exposing voting machines that flip votes.
The Masick spent retribution, and that the votes to be. I know and know them that the Masick that I spent as retribution for, and that was exposing the election machines that allow the votes to be flipped.
I'm sorry the volume is so shit, chat. I boosted it as much as I could. And like the reason, like when I ask you what next, what happens, what's the consequences, none of these fucking people will ever answer. Let's say that, you know, as Bad and Panada wants, Hasan Piker goes to prison for supporting the convoy that Bad and Panada attacked, right? Then what? What happens? I do think there's something valid against entryism, like how Fetterman seemed cool for 5 minutes. He had a brain fucking stroke, and he was a liberal Zionist. But then he even betrayed that. Fetterman is a fucking fraud. A guy was a fraud. What, do you think that just because someone calls themselves a socialist, there can never be a fraud? What do you think? There's some magic? That if I say I'm a socialist, I'm locked in and I can never become a fraud? Who gives a shit? That guy betrayed us. So what? We're never going to run anyone for anything ever again? And Plattner has literally spoken on that. What more do you want? Electoralism will bring you the change you want, but it's a tool for engaging with and activating class consciousness. That's true, but it's also incomplete. Electoralism will bring some change. Electoralism will bring some change. It's happened before. The idea that electoralism will never bring you anything is fucking stupid. The Comprehensive Anti-Apartheid Act of 1986 was a law enacted by the United States Congress. The law imposed sanctions against South Africa and created 5 preconditions for lifting the sanctions that would essentially end the system of apartheid. It was passed over, vetoed by Reagan. Reagan vetoed the compromise bill on September 26, calling it economic warfare and alleging that it would mostly hurt the impoverished black majority and lead to more civil strife. Republican Senator Richard Lugar, then chair of the Foreign Relations Committee, led the charge to override the veto, turning against the president that he had typically supported. Despite denunciations from his fellow Republicans, Lugar declared on the Senate floor, "We are against tyranny, and tyranny is in South Africa." Reagan's veto was overridden by Congress in the Senate 78-21 and House 313-83 on October 2nd. In the House vote taken on September 29, 1986, 232 Democrats and 81 Republicans voted to override the president's veto, while 4 Democrats and 79 Republicans voted to sustain the president's veto. In the Senate, all 47 Democrats were joined by 31 Republicans to override the president's veto, while 21 Republicans voted to sustain the president's veto. This override marked the first time in the 20th century that a president had a foreign policy veto overridden. And again, this went from America literally supported South Africa to doing what Reagan called economic. This is what I want to happen to Israel. This is what I want to happen to Israel. And if enough anti-Israel politicians win, these slimy, snaky, cowardly politicians will vote for this shit to save their own ass. That's what I want to happen. Okay? I want Israel to be sanctioned, just like we did to South Africa. We went from supporting South Africa to sanctioning South Africa because these politicians knew that if they were pro-apartheid, they would fucking lose. So yeah, is this electoralism doing nothing? I'm literally asking, is this nothing to you? Is this sanctioning of South Africa nothing? Because people will say this, well, electoralism won't get you the change you want. I'm not saying it's going to result in end stage socialism, but is this nothing? Mike, we're still years away from something like this. No shit! That's why I'm supporting people like Graham Plattner, because we're years away from this. In order to get to this, we have to win that. We have to actually show people it's viable politics to be anti-Zionist. We have to make the slimy politicians scared of losing their jobs. How the fuck do you think it happens? And the reason why people talk about Graham Plattner is because his biography is problematic. If you're a convinced anti-imperialist, Graham Plattner is a test for how serious your thinking is. If you're a really committed anti-imperialist, it's a test of how smart you're thinking, how much of your thinking is strategic and how much of it is personal branding and ego assuagement and moralizing. If your position against Gaza is purely about your own brand and feeling like you're a good person, you're gonna spend a lot of time being an anti-Plattner. If you are actually strategic, then you'll understand that it's very important that he wins. even if you have things about them that you don't like. I don't want unstrategic thinking in our movement because it leads to stupidity. It leads to dumb outcomes. Now, in this example of overturning the veto, there was a Republican scumbag who led the fucking charge. I want the same thing. I want to see Israel sanctioned, and if there was a bunch of Republicans that vote with us, fuck yeah, I would love that. Because my goal is sanctioning Israel because they're doing a goddamn genocide. And the only way to stop that is to cut them off from their American teat. And by the way, these were sanctions. These were not just not giving them weapons and money anymore. These were, you're not allowed to trade. You're not allowed to trade. No American was allowed. You couldn't import their money. You couldn't import military articles. You couldn't, they banned a bunch of like settler products and computer exports to South Africa. You couldn't give a loan to anybody, the government of South Africa. You couldn't fly a plane to South Africa. Prohibition of any new investment in South Africa. That's what I want this to say Israel. Prohibition on the importation of shekels. I want a total fucking embargo. Promotion, you couldn't even advertise tourism to South Africa. It was so fucking banned. I want the same thing. I want this exact law passed, except it put Israel every time it says South Africa. That's what I'm fighting for. And we did it before. So yeah, I will vote for somebody who's to my right if they're on board with building toward this type of politics. How do we build toward this type of politics? We show politicians they have to be on board or they'll fucking lose. I want everybody to look at these elections and go, she was pro-Israel, and that was fatal. Oh, pro-Israel politicians are losing. That's why they're spending $50 million against Massey. That's why they had Donald Trump and every member of the Republican administration's campaigning hard against Massey, because they were trying to prevent Massey. If Massey had won, every Republican would have been scared shitless because even Trump couldn't rescue you. So they had to do that, and unfortunately, they pulled it off. But it's not going to work on our side. That's why we have to do this. And I'm sorry if you don't agree. And by the way, you'll never, ever, ever, and I guarantee you, ever hear any of these people that call us Graham Plattner left or whatever, ever listen to what they don't know about any of this, and they won't bother to respond to what I'm saying. Because to them, it's about virtue signaling and moralizing and ego assuagement and feeling self-righteous like a liberal. Who is Susan Collins? And the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because the reason why I've been like fixated on this for weeks now is because I can't have my audience be stupid. I can't. I have 5,000 of you. I can't let you guys be stupid. I for my own mental health, I need you guys to actually know something and actually act strategically. I want to feel like if it's only my space and only my followers that have a brain, then so be it. Only my followers will have a brain. Okay? You're right to worry because it's working. Well, it's not working because I'm pushing back. It's not working because I'm pushing back. And I think I've convinced Hasan. So it is what it is because I'm not letting it happen. Just like I was anti-Gretchen Whitmer and all these other fucking liberal governors that everybody was gawking on. And I was pushing back against all those people and saying they suck shit. And then it turned out, oh, it turns out they did suck shit. After all, Mike was right. I will continue to push for strategic thinking. My question is, if the midterms carry through a Dev sweep and we get more progressives in, how do we prevent centrist Devs from sending the massive surges back into fascism? Because that won't change, and when progressives have the number to push. Not being a doomer, just ask what's the scenario you're seeing. As I've explained before, AOC has to win the presidency of the United States in 2028. That is the golden path. The only way for America not to become a fascist shithole and the world to fucking go into God knows what direction is AOC has to win in 2028. That's literally it. And what will that accomplish? We will be able to take over the Democratic Party and purge all of the fucking uniparty scum. There was just an article that was written about, oh fuck, who wrote it? It was like getting rid of centrist foreign policy advisors. Who wrote this article? Fuck. Oh, here it is. It's really just people who care about feelings versus outcomes. Fundamentally childish. Politics is literally about getting what you want, not feeling good. I mean, you feel good when you get what you want, right? It is working because you and Assad are spending 2 hours a day every day talking about Plattner. Just embargo Plattner and bait and tie people out until after the election. Social ostracization is how you change people's minds. Most chatters would prefer to keep chatting versus continuing the LARP. True. When will AOC announce her candidacy? If the left does well in the midterms. After that, she'll announce. one of the most important campaigns was Chris Rabb in Philadelphia. This was probably the most important campaigns, is because Philadelphia is a key party machine for the Democratic Party. And with Chris Rabb winning, we can actually throw out the establishment centrists of the Democratic Party machine in Philadelphia, or at least we can attack that. And so in the primary, Pennsylvania will not be locked down for the right-wing candidates, because we're going to have major influential allies that are in the city who can endorse AOC and campaign with her. And they, you know, because he has power, he can put influence on a lot, and it's going to cause a fracture of a lot of the machine. It's not going to be able to coordinate behind, say, like Gavin Newsom, right? So this is part of the process, right? Same thing with New York with Zoran, right? Zoran is electing a bunch of people to Congress so they could disrupt the machines from being able to just coalesce behind one centrist. I'm terrified she won't run. Of course she's going to. AOC is a centrist establishment Democrat, though, right? There are 3 people that are more left-wing than AOC: Ilhan Omar, Summer Lee, and Rashida Tlaib. Every other politician in America is to her right. And the reason why I have a spreadsheet is because I want to give you a firm understanding of exactly what I'm talking about. She's a co-sponsor of recognizing the Nakba and Palestinian refugees' rights. Only 6.5% of Democrats endorse that bill. She's a sponsor of the ultra-millionaire tax. Only 21% of Democrats are on that bill. She's on the College for All bill. Only 30% are on that bill. She's on the Block the Bombs Act. Only 31% of Democrats are on that bill. She's on the Medicare for All bill. She's a co-author. 53% are on that bill. She's on raising the minimum wage. 79.1%. Every major left-wing piece of legislation, she's a literal author of. Like, you could just see, every time you see green, and by the way, you see a lot of green, because this is sorted by how left-wing they are. If I sort it by alphabet, and we go to AOC, and then we start scrolling. Okay, she has a bunch of other lefties by her alphabetically, which is interesting. That's funny. But you'll get, like, there is a lot of really bad, like, look at this shit. Jesus Christ. Quite the spreadsheet. Yeah, because you could actually go and look at what she votes for, what she doesn't vote for. Which people, they want their impression of a politician to be determined by whatever you remember from the last viral tweet you saw. Does that mean, do you sound like you're an intelligent, strategic thinker if your opinion on a politician is based off of the vibes of your algorithm and whatever Elon Musk served to you? Does that sound like you're a fucking intelligent human being? Yeah, you know, I just sit back and the algorithm just shows me what to believe, and that's how I know when I'm right. Like, and we have a chance.
Hey friends, it's me, Harry Enton.
Like, this is the reality of what we're facing. The Democrats are going to win. Anybody telling you not to do entryism is basically ensuring the Democrats that do win are going to be Zionists.
Hey friends, it's me, Harry Enton, and today we're discussing how Democrats and why Democrats are in their strongest position in decades. I dare say it's a historic position heading into a midterm election. And if you stay tuned till the end, we'll talk about Donald Trump and how he's in a historic position as well, and how that is fueling Democrats in the midterm opportunities. But by
the way, this isn't to say you can't criticize AOC's votes. I think her bad votes actually made her less electable. I think her endorsement of Kamala Harris damaged her reputation. But at the same time, with who? Regular normies? No. Regular normies who are Democrats, they wanted Kamala Harris to win. So who is she hurting herself with? She's hurting herself with us. Basically, those people that were furious at Biden and Harris, so much so that we didn't even want to support a candidate against Trump. Which, by the way, how's that working out for the world, by the way? How's it working out? How is the fact that we had no influence over the centrist Democrats, how is that working out for the world? Not working out too well. And a lot of people say, Mike, why don't you want to do a third party? I want to do a third party. But the only way we're going to get a third party that succeeds is if we have nationally relevant political figures that people want, which means people like Bernie Sanders, people like AOC. If we don't have them, who can run a national campaign? The only answer then is a billionaire. What, are you going to wait for some enlightened billionaire to pop up and he's going to be your socialist daddy? It's nonsense. 350 million continent spanning superpower. You're not going to get somebody to spring out of the fucking ether. Somebody said ranked choice. How do you get ranked choice voting? The politicians in power have to vote for ranked choice voting. What, you think the centrist Democrats are going to spontaneously give you ranked choice voting out of the goodness of their hearts?
start off with the economy, because as Jimmy Carville...
Do you think regular normies even know what the fuck that means? Do you think regular normies even know what ranked choice voting even fucking means? Are they gonna show up and be passionate about ranked choice voting? It'll be that's normie poison. That's nerd shit. Which reminds me, chat, that's why you need to support my stream by subscribing at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you can attach that to your Twitch account. You get 1 free sub a month. That's your Twitch Prime sub. As soon as we hit 7,000 subs, chat, we are going to be getting the absolutely amazing, unbelievable new emote, the first cat emote representing sticks, DSA Shake. I don't have sponsorships because I'm anti-Israel. The only way that we can support this stream is by subscribing at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you can attach that to your Twitch account. You get 1 free sub a month. That's your Twitch Prime sub. Green Bass Guy, thank you for the 20. Come get the newest emote, DSA Shake, by subscribing. Do I think Abdul is in trouble? No. Marks will be resurrected at 7K subs. Absolutely. That's a ball sack? No, it's not a ball sack. It's a butt. It's a butt, not a ball sack. It's a jiggly butt. So please consider supporting the stream. It really does mean a lot. Obviously, like, you know, early summer is not exactly the top of the year for politics conversations. Oh, which reminds me, chat, tomorrow is Shoycott. I wanted to make sure you guys saw this. Make sure you all are out there voting for Shoy. If you're in San Francisco, I better not find out you voted for APAC Chan. Hold on, let me find this. Drop Site News reported that APAC had been... Okay, there's a lot of news going on with okay, I shouldn't free scroll Drop Site on the stream. Fuck, why can't I find this? APAC had dropped $500,000. Brian Grimm just confirmed that the Israel lobby is secretly funneling money into Connie Chan's campaign. We have the breakdown. APAC aligned groups, United Democracy Project, Democratic Majority for Israel, and the Kimbark Foundation donated $750,000 to EDW Action Fund in mid-April. EDW created a new affiliated PAC, Pro-Choice Majority Action, on May 1st, timed specifically so its first required FEC disclosure falls weeks after the California primary elections. Because the Pro-Choice Majority Action is listed as affiliated with EDW Action, the PACs could transfer unlimited sums between themselves. The new PAC, Pro-Choice Majority Action, has spent heavily on the following candidates since receiving their Israeli lobby cash infusion: Connie Chan, Melissa Hernandez, and Jasmeet Baines. Now, notice it was $750,000, and then that $750,000 was immediately spent. And this is why Connie Chan was calling Hasan a racist. Remember when Hasan was watching that Fox News segment of like a Vietnamese refugee who was like supporting Trump and saying like we should deport refugees? She said that Hasan saying fuck that refugee, which was spicy. You shouldn't, you know, that he was actually an anti-Asian racist. And why was she saying that? Because he was campaigning with Abdul, because he was campaigning with Chris Rabb, because he was campaigning with Shoycott. She was endorsed by Pelosi. She was endorsed by Adam Schiff. Do you think Pelosi and Adam Schiff endorsed anti-Zionists in contested open primaries? It's like, give me a fucking break. If the provision the NDAA to integrate, synchronize the U.S. and Israeli militaries makes it out of committee, I'll offer an amendment to strip it from the bill on the floor. We are a sovereign country. This is the dumbest possible take on this. Another anti-Semitic grift from the Costa Rica kid. This security agreement will allow for the U.S. to leverage advanced Israeli technologies. Israel relies on America. What are your thoughts on Shoycott winning? I think he's going to win. I think he's going to win. If he doesn't win, well, then that means Wiener's going to win. Connie Chan will not raise any money. And, you know, obviously after calling Hasan a racist, she can't campaign with Hasan, right? So where's she going to get her big infusion of money, right? AIPAC will have their candidate to give money directly to. Like, she's a weak candidate. She'll get fucking destroyed, and that'll be that. And Shoycott, he was yeah, exactly right. He was a menace. Anyway, thank you guys, gals, non-binary pals, for the hype train. I really do appreciate you guys. Have you seen the Lego scandal? I have no idea what that is. Also, I'm probably going to vote for Steyer. It really seems like the only choice. Do you think the left will coalesce behind Shoycott? I think some rallies with Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Summer Lee and all the like progressive people around the country. You know, I think that'll do. I think they're gonna coalesce behind him. You know, obviously, you know, he made a lot of money as an early engineer of Stripe, but it seems to me that his influence in politics nationally has been to promote the left, progressive left. Oh, I'm voting Ray for mayor. Yeah. Seriously, it's amazing. Nobody except for Ryan Grimm has covered the Iowa Dem primary. We have a shot at fucking Schubert over tomorrow, and nobody left seems to give a fuck. You want to give me the campaign? You have like a campaign video that I can run? I don't mind it, but I'm sorry I got distracted by other things.
Is fond of saying it's the economy, stupid. In the case of you, the audience, it's the economy, smarty pants. And this number really just jumps off the screen because take a look here. When you poll Americans on how they feel about the current and future economy, we get the worst ever consumer sentiment ever. And this measure has been taken since the mid-20th century. And of course, we are now in the 21st century. It is down, get this, 38% since the start of Trump's term all the way back in January of 2025. Just a massive decline. And this is fueling Democrats. It's fueling Democrats on the most simple of questions. That is, you identify as a Democrat, Republican, Independent, etc. And when we allocate those independents, look at this to the Democrats, Republicans. Democrats right now have a 13-point lead. A 13-point lead on Republicans on this most basic of measure. And when we look back at prior midterm cycles, at this point, this 13-point lead is bigger than any in at least 20 years. It even beats 2006 when Democrats easily took back the U.S. House of Representatives and gained 6 Senate seats, which if it happened this year, Democrats would be, yeah, that is perfect for us. We would take back the Senate as well. Now, when you look at this party ID lead, this is fueled in part by the simplest of questions. What's the most important problem the country is facing in your mind, and who do you trust to solve it? Well, right now, Democrats, hello, it's that same 13 points. It's that same 13-point lead that Democrats have over Republicans on which party they trust more to handle the top issue. And that, look at this. This really tells the story. Look at 2022. Republicans were trusted more by 11 points. More by 11 points. This is the inverse of that. This lead, this 13-point lead, look at, woo, this green line. This is very similar to what we saw all the way back in 2006, which I said is exactly what Democrats want to happen, right? Take back not just the House, but take back the United States Senate as well. These figures, very similar, and this very much unlike anything else on your screen. But when you put it all together, the simplest of questions, who are you going to vote for, Democrats or Republicans in the midterms? Well, what are we dealing with? Well, at this point in midterm cycles, Democrats right now have a 7-point advantage, and that is, again, the strongest that they have had. You got to go all the way back to 2006 when Democrats held an 11-point lead. But this 7 points, look at this. It's more than double what Democrats had in 2018 when, of course, they were able to take back the U.S. House, gaining about 40 seats, maybe 41, depending on how you measure it. But the bottom line is you don't have to worry yourself with the details. That's my concern. But Democrats have a clear advantage on that. Now, I know what you're saying. Hey, Republicans have been doing all this redistricting, right? Especially in the South as of recent. Well, this 7-point lead, well, it overcomes, even with the redistricting, it overcomes that barrier. Because take a look at Democrats in the National House vote margin. Right now, their lead, 7 points. What is needed in order to take back the U.S. House with redistricting? You need only a 3-point advantage. Hold on, I'm getting a little parched right here. Maybe someone could hand me a soda. What?
I thought this was a bit the first time, but apparently they're doing product placements in CNN now.
What? Oh, there it is. You know, last week we were going into the colas or cola-like. I don't know what Dr. Pepper exactly is. This is anything but that. This is an A&W zero sugar cream, which is honestly one of my favorites. Let's take a...
Listen, I'm not trying to be a curmudgeon, okay? I've tried really hard not to become a curmudgeon because I think being nostalgic about the past is cringe as fuck. Can we just admit things are worse? Can we just say that everything has been hollowed out and it's starting to become really uncomfortable how everything is trashy as hell? At least, like, Out Boundary, thank you for the 10. I appreciate you. What the fuck is this?
Oh, yeah.
Everything is fraud, scams, and bullshit. It really is. And the purchasing power of the dollar has never felt weaker. Like, it is significantly weaker. Like, buying anything costs way more, way more than it used to. like noticeably weaker. Like I will spend $1,000 on stuff that used to cost me $200. It's absolutely insane. Everything sucks. Like legitimately everything sucks. Everything is a fucking subscription. I need to go through and just like cancel all my subscriptions. I need to go through my budget and cancel all my subscriptions and just only reactivate the ones that I actually use when I use them. Like goddamn. Like the only subscription that I need is a one to the Central Committee stream from your host Mike from PA.
Vanilla cream goodness really does stretch out. One more for the road. Fantastic.
Sugar-free root beer. What would that even taste like? Like, how do they even make that? Like, how the fuck do you even make that? Because like root beer is a brewed drink. It's not like Coke, which is like where bubbles are injected into it. How the fuck, what did they even do? I did the exact same thing when I boycotted all American companies when Trump was threatening Canada, and most of my subs never came back. Yeah, I think that's a smart thing. Do they just like, I guess they would like need to brew root beer and then strip it, like boil it off to separate the sugar out, and then have like an extra root beer extract, and then put that in the water, and then carbonate that, and then sweeten it with Splenda or whatever. It's just artificial flavorings that are like root beer into water. Is that it? Bro, you're overcomplicating it. It's all just artificial. I'd guess that root beer isn't even actual root beer anymore. Vote for Zach Walls tomorrow. Schumer screwed up and endorsed someone, Joshua Turek. We thought it flipped an RC in Western Iowa. TDLDR, they spent $9 million in DSSC money for Turek because of a misreading of redistricting seats. Both boring for the most part, but Iowa is winnable, and Walls wants to vote to get rid of Schumer as leader. Gotcha.
Anyway,
if you're looking for a laugh, you should skip to 12:48 on the latest internet etiquette combat video.
Sure did. But that's it. Goodbye.
Why would you think that this is coming from my community? Why would you think this is coming from my community? I want to know. This is internet comment etiquette. The video is from Tell Me What to Do. That's quite the community you've garnered. The full contact thank you bounce was the most intimacy I've experienced in years. Thank you, Eric. If you want to bounce on it, chat, remember to subscribe. Where were we?
As I was saying, Democrats right now running well ahead of where they need to be, even controlling for redistricting in terms of the U.S. House vote. Now, the other key factor, right, is it's one thing to have a lead, but if you're not going to show up and vote, what difference does it make? And this tells the story. Absolutely certain to vote in November. Democrats, 75% of them, when you include the leaners, say that they're absolutely certain to turn out and vote in this midterm election. Republicans, it's just 67%. Now, this is an 8-point advantage, which is very, very important, because essentially what that means is you can take that House lead that Democrats have, and if the likely voters, the actual voters, match this absolutely certain to vote in November, that means that lead would be even larger, I feel like I'm in the movie Airplane. Larger. Anyway, I'm not sure if that's exactly quite right, but it's how I remember it in my head. But this 8-point lead is historic. It's historic. This is why I keep saying that Democrats are in a historic position heading into the midterm elections. And it is because of this. Take a look here. Okay, leading and certain to vote pre-midterms about this point in the cycle. You'll notice a lot of the other slides had a lot of Democratic numbers on there, right? This one is mostly all red. That's because Republicans have historically been the ones who are more likely to turn out and vote. But as that Democratic anger has risen with what's going on in Washington, as the coalitions have changed, as the Democratic coalition has become more tilted towards college-educated voters who are more likely to turn out, this is the first midterm cycle at this point in the cycle that I could find in which Democrats say they are more likely to turn out and vote than Republicans. So again, that is supercharging. That is supercharging what that Democratic lead actually is.
I would also say I think it's underestimating, because the type of people that Donald Trump managed to get into his side are the lower propensity voters. So we're talking about non-college educated whites, right? And what has happened under Trumpism is the certain type of like unsophisticated voter who obsesses over personalities has overwhelmingly flipped to the Republicans. The type of people that only vote for one candidate, like they only came to vote for Trump and then they didn't vote down ballot. And that's why Alyssa Slotkin won. Alyssa Slotkin won in Michigan, because a lot of Republican voters just didn't vote down ballot. There was an undervote. They just voted for Trump and they left. And so Slotkin performed worse than Kamala Harris, but she ended up winning her race because Democratic voters were more likely to go Democrat all the way down ballot. And so in the midterms, no Trump on the ballot means a lot of those lower propensity voters are not even going to show up. And I honest to God believe that there is a bunch of lower propensity left-leaning voters that are going to show up. So I honestly think they're underestimating how bad it is for the Republicans. I think there's going to be a polling error that's probably 5 or 6 points underestimating how well Democrats do. I think it's going to be a fucking landslide, assuming they're not rigged by like literally stealing. I think it's going to be a landslide. And by the way, I had the same analysis for Zoran's primary. I thought the polls were underestimating Zoran by about 5 to 6 points. I predicted that he would get 56% of the vote. Does anybody have that clip? I want to show. Does anyone have that clip? Because it's so funny. The final round of Zoran Mamdani. I don't know if anybody has it. Fuck. Someone be the receipt. I said he would get 56% of the vote. I think I might have tweeted it too. So I like literally perfectly called it. And I feel the same way about the midterms. I feel like there's going to be a 5 to 6% underestimation of the Democratic vote. I think they're going to overestimate Republicans because the type of lower propensity voter is not going to show up. I think the number of people that I identify as Republicans is going to go down. And a lot of Republicans are just not going to be interested because they're unhappy with how Trump is doing. So they're not going to show up. Yeah. My biggest worry is that they're going to cheat, screw leftists, and centrist devs won't care because the left was defeated, so they'll ignore it. Mike, why weren't you in the Israel lab? Here it is. Thank you. Among white voters on Staten Island? Mamdani is winning among white voters on Staten Island? Staten Island, Mamdani 29, Cuomo 29, Silva 26. White voters, Mamdani beating Cuomo by 8 points? This is an underestimation, chat, because the poll is likely voters. So there's a whole bunch of people that are unlikely voters that are going to show up for Mamdani. I bet you he breaks 55 or 60%, not 45%. Okay, that's not it. That's not it. I literally said the day before, I was like, tomorrow I think he's going to end up getting 56%. Like I literally, like the day before the election. This is one of, but again, that's still the same range. I said 55 to 60. Oh, I tweeted it. Both Emerson and Marist have Mamdani winning people who voted early by quite a bit more than election day. This is why I think he breaks 50. Cuomo, Surge, and E-Day never materialized in the primary, and a good chance E-Day looks younger than the EV so far. Oh, there he goes. I think he'll probably be around 56%. October 30th, 2025. I'm going to laugh so hard if you are spot on. Did you laugh? Did you laugh? Watching this space to see if Mike was right. If Diddy throws another party, ask Hasan if he can invite you too. Is this guy still posting? So I'm between 52 and 60%. I personally am leaning towards, I think if I were to put my finger down on a number, it would be 58. That would be, or yeah, 56 to 58 is like my inner ring. My outer ring is 60 to like 52. 52 would be, in my view, a surprisingly low. I think it's going to be crazy. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much right, you know? And it looks like, so 56 to 58 is the inner ring. I said 56 on Twitter. Except after Trump endorsing Cuomo, he only got 50% despite record youth turnout. Yes. Oh yeah, Trump endorsing Cuomo was huge for Cuomo. Alrighty. Wow, I need to make sure this guy is not on my shit anymore. Holy fuck. Wide Mike had more subs. Coincidence? I know, right? So true. Wide Mike was more popular than current Mike. True. All right. I wanted to cover this, but chat, it looks like we're not, you know, remember how I told you the peace treaty was fake? And then the oil markets were like dog shit. And then, oh, would you look at that? They're going back up again. Wow. Turns out it wasn't real. Trump tells CNBC, I don't care if Iran negotiations are over.
With President Trump, what can you tell us?
Kelly, that's right. I called President Trump a short time ago, and he picked up to
What's
talk
the
about
peptide stack?
the negotiations over the
weekend.
weekend.
I'm narcissistic
with the
enough
Iranians.
for that?
We had this report at the top of the day today that the Iranians were actually breaking off negotiations with the United States. That moved oil markets. And so that's what I asked the president about. I said, do you think the negotiations are over now, or is this a bluff by the Iranians? The president said, I don't care if they're over, honestly. I really don't care. I couldn't care less. If they're over, they're over. If they're not, you know, I think they took too much time. Frankly, I think they started to get a little boring. The president said he thinks that the Iranian side was tapping us along, that is, that they were stalling for time. Ultimately, on oil prices, the president was confident that he said oil will be dropping like a rock. He said, ultimately, if the Iranians want to try and have a nuclear weapon, I will blow them up to kingdom come. He said what this is all about for him is a strongly held conviction that the Iranians should not ever be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, and that American voters will tolerate higher gas prices as long as they know what the goal is. I also asked him about Netanyahu and the Israelis. I asked, it seems to be that the Iranians are saying they're not going to negotiate until Israel stops attacking in Lebanon. Have you talked to Netanyahu about it? I asked the president. He said, this is about 40 minutes ago, he said, no, but I'm going to ask him what's going on with Lebanon. They've been fighting for a long time. Now, since our call, just in the past couple of minutes, we've seen a report on Reuters that crossed the wires a short time ago, suggesting that the president has now called Netanyahu to discuss that. But at the time that he and I spoke, he suggested that, in fact, they had not talked yet. So then I asked him, you know, what is the end game here in terms of the Strait of Hormuz? How ultimately are we going to get out of the situation that we're in? The president said he thinks that NATO should come in and help the United States out. He said they're the ones. He said, we don't use the strait. We don't need it. We have a lot of oil. And I said, have you talked to anybody at NATO about that? Have they changed their tune on coming in to help the United States in the strait? He said they would if I wanted to, but we don't need them. We don't need NATO. They were very weak and very sad. And the last thing I would leave you with is this idea.
Why does the White House have like a fucking a Homelander arch directly out of the fucking boys? The UFC. Some people will be like, oh, this is idiocracy. I saw that in the chat, which is not correct. Camacho was a good president. Like literally in idiocracy, Camacho was a good president. Deadass was a good president. He like went, somebody's really smart and we have a problem. Let's ask the smart guy what to do. And then he followed his advice. And then when the advice showed that initially it didn't seem like the advice was working, and so they turned on the guy. But then when the evidence was provided that the advice was actually working out, he acknowledged that he was wrong and elevated the guy even more. Like, objectively, he was a good president. Like, he found the intelligent advisor, he listened to his advice, and he looked at the empirical results and was willing to shift based on those results. Like, when's the last time we had a president like that? Camacho was objectively a good president. Even though all of the, they all wanted to believe Brano had what plants crave. He was willing to accept the opposite. And then when it was testably proven that that was not correct, he went with a new thing. Like, legitimately, Donald Trump cannot measure up to Camacho. Stop saying it's idiocracy. I wish we had idiocracy. I wish we had idiocracy. Idiocracy would be an upgrade. Isn't idiocracy pro-eugenic? It's a little bit eugenic. It's a little bit eugenic, but I don't think that was the point of the movie. I think the point of the movie was, that was kind of dumb and poorly written point, but I think the point was the degradation of culture, not the genetic inferiority thing. I don't think it was saying that, right? That was the framing device, which admittedly is problematic, and it is what it is. But I don't think there was an intent to go like, we should sterilize the pores. I don't think that was the point of it. The point was to satirize American culture, right? Like that was the point. Like, I don't consider myself to be someone that is, lives with their patriotic, I'm not like a guy who trades at patriotism for my arguments. But there must be something there, because when I look at that, it feels sacrilegious almost. It feels like it is it's like defaming our country. It's like, I don't know how to put it, how to explain it. It's just like it's like, oh my God, this is just, it's just, how can he take this country as anything but a joke? You're going through growing pains? No, it's not growing pains. It's just like, for democracy to have value, there has to be a solemnity about the will of the majority, right? there has to be a certain kind of like secular, almost a secular belief in the probity and the wisdom of the crowd, right? Like the idea of, you know, I may disagree with the majority, but there's some sort of like value in respecting democratic will. Minnesota GOP honors Derek Chauvin days after the anniversary of George Floyd's death. The Minnesota GOP is catching heat after delegates at the party state convention held a moment of silence for Derek Chauvin. A 10-second moment of silence for Chauvin. Wow, the hot galleries is stuck to your, like, wow, they really want you to see the hot galleries. That's like pinned. You scroll down and then it's like, plop, hot galleries. White hot bikinis. Guess who's who? Or guess who? God, TMZ is such fucking trash. What was I trying to say? I was saying some stuff about this. Just the idea that like we value these like secular, it's some element of like Americanness in me, where it, you know, turn what is supposed to represent a kind of the republic into a cheap marketing backdrop for sweaty guys to roll around on the floor. And I'm not a UFC enjoyer. I'm not a UFC enjoyer. You know, I think that boxing was a better blood sport. That's my personal opinion. I'd rather watch boxing. I want to watch wrestling. I'd rather watch actual wrestling. I don't like MMA. Early on I was, but then it became dudes talk about how they can fight instead of enjoying the fight. I mean, but like it's not even really about fighting. MMA is not really about fighting. It's about performing MMA. You know what I mean? Like MMA is a type of fighting. It's not fighting in the same way that boxing isn't fighting. Because the most effective way to fight is to destroy someone's genitals. It's to fishhook them. It's to eye gouge. It's to twist fingers off. It is to bite. You know, it's to break the instep. It's not stuff that is like rolling around wrestling with each other, right? Like it's not, which of course, I don't want to watch someone gouge someone else's eye out. That's fucking unsporting. But that's combat. And I think a lot of people confuse, you know, they want to be like, oh, it's no holds barred. No, it's not. It's holds. And I just don't find it entertaining. I prefer the standing up and the brawling of a boxing match. That's just like, that's my preference, right? Like, as opposed to a guy like, you know, trying to twist an arm. That's just my preference. Watching Israeli fighters at UFC get pinned while the other screams free Palestine, you'll never get that in boxing. I mean, of course you could get that in boxing. You would just need to have an Israeli fighter get in a boxing match and fight someone who is like, you know, I'm glad that happened. I cheer for that. I just, you know, me personally, I don't enjoy it. You know, I pulled out of SXSW London. I hope other speakers and chairs do too. Having read the SXSW statement of Hasan and Jank being denied entry in the UK, I'm afraid I have to withdraw my participation. If I were in their shoes, I would hope that any organization which invited me to speak and had their programming interfered with by the Home Office would have had the minimal expected integrity to offer some defense of lawful free expression and condemn government overreach. Thanks for your invitation, Ash Sarkar. Yeah, it's a fucking joke, man. Did you just say South by Southwest? No. It's SXSW to me. Eye pokes and breaking fingers aren't as effective as you might think. I mean, you're right. Like, different things are effective in different ways. You're right about that. I'm just saying it's not no holds barred. It's a lot of the things are banned. There's a lot of things that are banned in UFC for the purpose of having the style of combat that they want, right? Neither is boxing. Yes, I know, but no one gets confused about that. You have your big silly mitts on. Nobody's confused and thinks it's like boxing is real fighting. No, it's a boxing match. I like I just think it's more entertaining for me.
Is
not to say that there can't be boring boxing styles. Floyd Mayweather killed boxing. He sucks. Fuck Floyd Mayweather. He's a very good tactical fighter, but he's really boring. You know, I'm not a Mayweather fan.
On the generic ballot, that 7-point lead might actually be 8, 9, 10 points when we're talking about likely voters. Now, at the beginning of this segment, I teased that we're going to talk about Donald Trump, right, and how he is supercharging this. Well, one way in which Donald Trump is absolutely supercharging this is when you just look at his ratings. Look at this. Term 2 Trump approval ratings low. All of these within the last 2 weeks, at least at the time that we taped this wonderful little thing. If you're watching it later on, I can't promise, you know, I can do a lot of things, but I can't actually bend time and gravity and space, etc. Look at this. Quinnipiac, 34%. Ipsos, 35%. New York Times, 37%. CBS News, 37%. Fox, 39%. The bottom line is, across the board, Donald Trump is at historic lows for his second term, in all of them, sub 40%. Now, why is this sub 40% so important? Because who are the other presidents who are sub 40% at this point in their second term? Well, there are only two that I could find. Only two that I could find. Richard Nixon in 1974, which of course was the height of Watergate. You had George W. Bush, when of course the Iraq War was absolutely draining on him back in 2006. Both of these cycles, well, you know what they featured? You know what they featured? They featured massive Democratic gains. 2006, we mentioned it before, it keeps popping up in all these. That's a very, correlation isn't necessarily causation, but in this case, Democrats absolutely love that.
Why is he still in office? Do you mean Trump? If you're asking yourself why is Trump in office, well, in America we have timed terms. So the president is elected for 4 years, and so the only way to get a president out of office is for him to die, be declared incompetent under the 25th Amendment, or for that entire term to elapse, or to be impeached or removed, and in a trial in the House, an impeachment in the House, and a trial that he's convicted with a 2/3 majority in the Senate. So Donald Trump will not leave office unless one of those things occur, right? So even though the vast majority of people don't like Trump, that doesn't result in him leaving office, right? Until the Republicans want to get him out, right? So if the Republicans want him out, that would require Republicans not being punished for being against Trump. And right now, the vast majority of Republicans adore Trump. So we have this situation where everybody who's not a Republican hates Trump, but all the Republicans love Trump. So there is no incentive for Republicans, most of which are in safe seats, to be against Trump, right? The only way a Republican would be incentivized to go against Trump is if the Republican Party base abandons Trump. And they're not going to do that. In fact, they're doing the opposite, which is they're gerrymandering the districts to make many districts as possible, 65% Republican. So even if they lose 10 points off of Republicans, they still win. And so they only have to worry about their right flank. So that's why Donald Trump is still in office. So pressure the GOP. I guess I'll just repeat myself again. Republicans love him. So being anti-Trump means you lose the Republican primary. So that's why we have the situation we have now, which is there is a cult of personality around Trump that is the entire Republican Party.
Correlation. And of course,
I hope that didn't come across as condescending. I'm really trying to answer your question in a way that, I need you to understand that why I'm talking like this is because I want you to understand the structures of what's going on and how we need to act in order to counter that. Right, which is we have to elect massively anti-Trump, socialist, progressive politicians to seize control of the Democratic Party, and then eventually to defeat Trump. And then to avoid fascism coming back, we need to have a incredibly expansive agenda for the country that also includes things like packing the Supreme Court, ending gerrymandering, expanding, the number of states, admitting DC as a state to get more senators. Maybe Puerto Rico, if it wants to be a state. Maybe the Virgin Islands, if it wants to be a state. We need to add more states. Maybe we should fracture California, into 3 or 4 states. Stuff like that needs to be a serious contention going forward if we're going to actually save the country. And when I say save the country, I don't mean save the American empire. I mean prevent the American empire from becoming a fascist, revanchist, imperial, actively imperializing, colonizing structure that gets far worse than it is now.
For Democrats had massive gains in both the Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives. And of course, then Jimmy Carter was able to take back the White House 2 years later. Will a Democrat take back the White House 2.5 years from now? We're not to the midterms quite yet. Who's really to say? But at this point, these are the types of historical comparisons that Democrats absolutely have to love. So we've gone through the simple question, which is why Democrats are in a historic position. Why don't you leave a comment in the comments section? We'll see if there's something in there that we really like, and perhaps we will do it on this next go around between you and me, my dear friends. Until then, cheers.
All right, Chad, I'm going to call it there. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope my rant about the Plattner shit and the ban made sense. I know today it wasn't the most entertaining stream ever, but I wanted to try to get you guys to understand my perspective in a really in-depth way, which is I see these politicians as avatars for interests, and I'm going to fight against AIPAC's interest, right? Like, that is the way I look at politics. Is the politician I'm supporting, would that be an L for AIPAC? How do we stop the American empire? We have to elect these people, and I'm not going to allow like bad optics or the fact that they're, you know, people are moralizing over this guy to stop me from telling you what the correct answer is. There is a correct answer. And ultimately, you know, it's not that I hate people for disagreeing with me. It's just that they don't have serious, they're not really being serious. Like, Graham Plattner has a lot of things about him that I have criticized. But at the end of the day, he represents anti-Zionist politics in America growing. That's why all the Israelis and all the centrists are united, and all the Zionists are united in trying to take him down, because they know that, they understand that. And so we have to be behind these anti-Zionist politicians. So if you're in California, don't forget to turn in your ballot. I have to turn mine in. I waited till the last minute to decide because, you know, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with New York, with the governor and with LA mayor. I'm voting for Ray for LA mayor, and I'm voting for Tom Steyer for governor. So it is what it is. So I hope you guys follow me in those decisions if you're in the Los Angeles area. All right, everybody, stay safe. I'm going to send you guys over to the mothership out of solidarity for him being banned by the fucking United Kingdom. If I'm the last guy supporting Hasan, so be it. All right, everybody, stay safe. Oh, the other thing, before we go, we have a brand new episode for the Reaction Podcast on Bill Maher. I'm obviously going to be promoting the fuck out of this tomorrow. Bill Maher, episode 12. It's fucking hilarious. Go check it out. Please subscribe to the YouTube. Please subscribe to the Patreon so we can pay our editor. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. Good, he needed expose. Oh, he's fucking terrible. All right, everybody. Stay safe. Solidarity forever, my friends. That's how socialism wins. I'll see you all soon. There's all my links. Peace out. See you tomorrow.